Thank you. And you have the attendance here? No, just asking. Okay. First thing on the agenda is the final budget.
Sorry, bear with me. It's been one of those weeks already.
We can move that down the list if you want.
We have to do it because it's published, or, you know, it's published and stated. This is when we have our hearing for the final budget. Actually, there were only a couple of minor changes made. One being on page 5, which would be the sale of city property. It was an amended amount that was figured in for the estimated revenues for 2022, because that was the sale of our townhome. Discussion was held on the equipment fund for the police department, as obviously that was already in the negative based on our budget for this year. So we did figure in an amendment for this year in this budget. We increased it to $125,000, and for the improve, replace, and that would also be for vehicles, we also amended that to $60,000. And then a couple other things that were amended was because insurance did go up, we did amend for both BBH and fire and tornado. So the BBH one, we increased it, and that would actually be for this year. We increased it to $28,000, and also made that on the police department, increased that to $6,000. And you'll see that also for the infrastructure, which we had already figured in, that was a $2 million initially what we put in there, and we amended that to change it to $3 million after our last discussion at our last regular meeting. Other than that, there is no other amendments or changes, but we will still retain the same mill levy, which would be 51.45. So it did not increase or decrease. We still retain that mill levy. And I guess that's the only thing I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Can I get a motion to approve the final budget?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion by Ty, second by Lauren. Any discussion? With no discussion, let's take a roll call vote on that.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
The ayes have it, the no nays, so motion approved. And we'll move on to the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, I have a motion to approve by Lauren
Second.
and a second by Ty. Any discussion on the minutes or changes? Hearing no changes, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The minutes are accepted. Planning and zoning. Mr. Highbrighter.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we had our regular meeting last evening. Our first order of business was a conditional use permit for Quality Water Systems, Wade Trulson. This is to place a water pump on Trulson's land to suck water out of the Knife River Reservoir Dam south of town. because it was a conditional hearing, it's a public meeting, a public hearing. We had no people protested. We had no comments for it, but we had nothing against it. And this is kind of one of those deals where the water belongs to the State Water Commission. They've granted the permit to suck the water. All we're doing is granting the placement of a pump within the city jurisdiction. With that, we voted to approve their conditional use to place the pump and suck the water out.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve,
Move to approve Charleston's request.
Second that.
and a second by Ty? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Continue, Todd.
Our next one was a conditional use permit for Highline Water, Landon SQ. And this was to place another water pump on the same Knife River Reservoir on David Enander's property. This one has been in place in the past, and the previous years, it was agreed upon by both the council and the planning and zoning that if a firm, person, company comes forth time and time again for the exact same request, the exact same placement for the exact same reason, they could bypass the conditional use hearing. Because in the past, we had no opposition to this placement on Enander's land. So with that, we bypassed the need of a public hearing, and we voted to approve a conditional use for Highline Water, Landon SQ.
If this has been covered before by the council, approved before by the council, is there a need for a motion on this?
This is a new application, because our
Okay.
application is only good for 1 year.
All right,
So that, yes, they don't need to go through the hearing process, but each year they must come back and ask for a new permit, to place the pump each year, yes.
can I get a motion then?
So moved.
Okay, a motion by Ty, second by George. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up was a plat of lots. This was from Farmers Union Lumber Company, and this was for the sale of the property of the lumberyard uptown. It was only for 2 parcels, 2 of their parcels of land that they are transferring ownership to Stanley Lumber, to go from the meets and bounds to the platted, engineered, surveyed lots. This had one minor error. It was a wording error. It's been sent back to the courthouse for correction of the wording. And so the group gave me permission to sign the corrected plat when it comes back. So this is contingent upon the corrections made by the courthouse.
I'll move to approve that contingent on the requests of Mr. Hydrants.
Is there a second for that? Any questions on that? Okay, with hearing no issues, I guess, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Next was a replat of a lot from Arnold Adicott. This is on his property south of Stanley. It's out of the city's city limits. It's in our extraterritorial district. He wanted to break off a piece of his property. This again now is in the same form. There was a couple corrections needed to be made at the courthouse. And again, permission was granted for me to sign when the approved plat comes back from the courthouse.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Lauren,
Second.
second by George. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
Next, we had a variance permit. Chris Jenkins came. He lives on 10th Avenue. He was requesting to put a fence in his backyard to go from the regulation height of 6 feet to a height of 8 feet. His adjoining neighbor has a 9-foot fence that was put in quite a few years ago for the reason that behind them is the beach bar and some commercial businesses. And we granted that 9-foot fence years ago because of the ruckus, the trash that was going on back then. So we discussed that during Mr. Jenkins' request. And because of that, we granted variance to him for an 8-foot tall fence to coincide with the neighbor's 9 fence.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Chad, second by Lauren. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next, we had on our agenda was the Boulevard review. It was brought to our attention that the council had requested we review it. Amanda brought forth a couple different communities, Boulevard laws, restrictions, allowances, and Bismarck had a very nice one, allowing shrubberies, trees, rocks, different forms of landscape. We asked her to rewrite that to fit us and bring it to our next meeting, and we would review it and put it into our to be completed revised planning and zoning book.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Lauren had a motion to approve. Ty had a second. Any discussion? I do have some discussion. I guess I could. How is that you're going to do that? You're going to,
We're looking at when we do a lot of these reviews and look at how our book is written and how we have things maybe that are wrong and need to be redone, we go with Amanda's research. She'll look at equal cities, larger cities, different areas of the state. When we were redoing our book, we took a lot out of Jamestown's book. And I don't have a copy of it, but Bismarck's made a lot of sense, and it allowed attractive, yet workable, yet maintainable, nice boulevard materials to, and until it gets rewritten along with as it gets rewritten, it'll have the items that are allowable, as far as like, there won't be any big boulder rocks, it'll be rocks that would be allowed. Paver stones will be allowed. Certain shrubberies will be allowed that do not encroach upon the sidewalk or the street. The trees, which we already have in effect, we have some allowance for trees that are fit for boulevards because we've planted many of them here in the last few years. So a lot of that material will be included in this to be reviewed at our next meeting.
okay.
In the meeting, it made it sound like when Amanda had read off of Bismarck's and it kind of made it to where we didn't have to do those special variances that just allowed for grass. So it would allow somebody to be able to put the rock if it's too steep for them to be able to mow and things like that, to where they're not having to come to us
No,
for every little thing.
yes.
So it sounded extremely reasonable in the words that Amanda read from Bismarck's.
The word grass will still be in it, but there'll be, right now, the only word in boulevards is grass.
Right.
That's the only word. This will have many other types of product and material that would be allowable.
Okay, thanks for explaining it.
Plus also in that, we're looking at, and it was brought up that we would also put in a provision for cleaning. You know, if it is rock, it'll have to be maintained, no weeds, cleaned. And so there's going to be quite, it's not just going to be a couple sentences. It's going to be quite a section.
Okay.
Mayor, may I make a comment? We don't technically need to do a motion on that. As he stated, it's going to actually be incorporated into the new updated zoning ordinance, but just something that obviously they were reviewing and discussing and.
Well, that'll have to be brought here anyway, right? For
Yes.
approval.
Yes, correct. Everything in that book,
Okay,
we spent many, many hours going from the front to the back of the book and redid pretty much every page, every section, every sentence. In the past, it was done by some big shots, and us plain people wrote it to fit the city, and so everybody can understand it and read it, but yet it still has what the city needs to move forward and to be right. This Boulevard was one thing we probably didn't look at good enough. I'm not saying we didn't look at it, but probably not good enough. And until this issue on First Street came up, that's when we it was brought forth that we should relook at it. And I'm glad we did. We're only human, you know, and even though the changes we've made, they are just so far recommendations. But yes, I don't know the exact process. It went from us, it's now in Lynn's hands to be retyped. And then does it go to the lawyers first for rewording to get all their legal crap in? And then it will come back to you guys for review and to us for review. And then back to you for the final approval.
okay.
Do they have to do something with their motion, Lynn? No, okay. All right, and then we went into, it was brought to our attention about signs, demolitions, and variances. We weren't quite sure. Lauren was there and she explained what herself and some of the council members were thinking to eliminate sign fees, demolition fees, and variance fees. We didn't agree with going to zero. We did agree that maybe it could be lowered, but we have many questions. And a lot of the questions were, what is the exact thought of the council? If we have zero, what are we going to do? How are we going to maintain the presence of orderly business? What ramifications do we have if we have no fees, but yet somebody does something without a permit? What are we going to do without spending an exorbitant amount of money in court? So we did talk about like the sign fee, the demolition fee going down to $50, $25 was brought up, but not doing away with fees. There's still a lot of expense to the city in any fee or any permit, so the fee does help pay for the planning and zoning, for Amanda's hours, for Lynn's hours, Ada's hours, and now we have a new young lady working her hours. That was kind of our theory. Signs, it was said that just a typical sign fee. Well, there's quite a few signs that can be put up without a permit and without a fee. A lot of your window signs are exempt, some small signs, all real estate signs, political signs. There's many different signs that are free. It's the signs on businesses. The billboard sign fee was left in. That's $500. And we felt that was very necessary, because you take some of these billboards that are $20, $30, $40, $50,000, $500 is cheap. And there's a lot of work that goes into a billboard. Placement, checking. Our sign section in our book is quite large, and there's a lot to it. So that was how we thought about that. Variances, I don't think we should allow a variance. City of Williston won't allow one. Period.
Any variances?
Period. None. I don't think we should allow them either. And we really have cut this down from many to a few. And every variance that comes before us now is discussed, studied, thought about. And you know, if you want to do something different than what the law says, maybe you need to pay a $100 bill to get what you want. I feel it should stay. I don't feel that $100 for variance is ridiculous, is out of line. I say a variance should stay, the fee. And I think and I brought this up last night, we need to cut out a lot more variances. They need to go away. The book was written for a reason. Let's follow the book.
Well, to start off, the hours that are put into it were just approved in this budget right here. So those fees that are gathered from this do not pay the salary. Amanda puts in a ton of work, and her annual budget is approved. You know, everybody's pay is approved on right here. So them collecting $100 fee for a shop to put up a sign is not going to say that we can no longer keep our.
And that's not the point that we were making. The point we were making is these fees are put into the funds that do pay. And if we keep these fees, which we should, these fees do help pay. The Planning and Zoning Commission gets paid for every meeting.
Yeah.
It helps pay our fees. It does help pay towards these wages. And if we keep these up, maybe we can lower our taxes.
Well, your businesses that are improving their establishments and putting new signs are incurring additional taxes by fixing up their businesses. And we're hitting them and saying, you want to put a nice sign on your building, we're going to charge you an extra $100 to do that. In the census last night, which seemed a little unacceptable with how it went, is a few of them said that if they can't afford a sign, then they probably aren't going to stay in business.
Very true.
Which is
very true comment.
Wrong. We're talking about business owners who, there are ups and downs in that time. And when the economy's hard, we're going to say, you want to put up a sign? Maybe your kid doesn't get to play volleyball. Whereas the $100 for that isn't going to make or break the city, but
it shouldn't make or break a business or an individual. And that was the consensus of our thought of our group.
So I guess I got one question then. So where's the fine line where we quit charging our taxpayers and our business people to do business in our town? I mean,
then I suggest you.
Let me finish. Here's where I'm at. If we can't operate our city on the taxes that we collect and the revenues that we generate from building permits and water and sewer, then we're doing something really wrong, because a $100 fee should not affect your budget. What is our annual income off of sign fees? Roughly. Do we get $5,000 a year?
How it works with, say, your variances, your conditional
I'm
use.
just asking for talking
Okay,
signs.
yep, but But how I'm trying to explain it to you is that all of those miscellaneous permits all get lumped into one fund. So I can't tell you directly what is signs and what's variance. I'd have to actually print out a report to tell you that physically. I mean, I guess with all the miscellaneous permits in total for probably a year, probably $5,000-6,000, give or take.
What was our approved budget balance for what we would approve?
For,
What was our annual budget? Full budget. Double line.
I'm sorry,
How much did we approve for our budget? For 23.
total amount levied would be $784,068 is the amount levied.
Okay, so $750,000. And all the permits added together, because we don't have the number. Not putting you in a corner, just the rough number that you said is $5,000 to $6,000.
And like I said, that's-
That's just, and not holding you to task on that number. But let's put that into perspective. What's $6,000?
What-
Out of $750,000.
What is the city of Tioga do?
We're
What-
not the- We're not
uh,
the city of Tioga.
We are a city that is run by the members of the city council, just like any other city. And I guess we're just gonna have to respectfully disagree that you have an opinion, the planning and zoning has a commission, has an opinion. Our recommendation was to take the sign fee to $25, take the demolition permit to $25, and leave the variances as is.
Okay, on the variance, I guess I didn't, when I spoke of variances, mine was strictly related to the setback on the fences.
The setback, there is no variance for a setback on the 2-foot setback. There is a easement for moving within 2 feet of a property line. It is not a variance, it's an easement. And that easement has to be signed by both property owners, allowing the property owner who's putting up the fence to get within 2 feet of a property line to put a fence so that they have the right to come on the neighbor's property to do maintenance. Without that easement and without that agreement, you can't put a fence any closer than 2 feet and walk on the other person's property. You'll get charged with trespassing. I have a neighbor, it'll be a cold day, he walks on my property. And he knows it, and I'll never touch foot on his property. Because of that, this has to be in place, and it needs to be there forever and ever.
So
And
if you don't like your neighbor and they want to do an easement, then you just get 2 feet of their property because you don't want to.
No, they still have their 2 feet, they still own it, and they still must maintain it. It's just that you cannot come any closer than 2 feet towards my property.
Well, the variance for me on that was the variance like we had last night when Chris Jenkins came up here and asked for 2 extra feet on the back because he's butted up to the leader and we said $100
Yes,
right there. I
Yes.
understand if you want them for the commercial ones, Amanda had spoken about, getting stacks when people come in, but we're going to charge a resident $100 to say, can I put a couple extra feet?
Well-
He has a top cruiser in his front yard. I'd like to see the additional security right there by the bar, but we're going to sit there and say 100 extra
well,
dollars.
the unfortunate thing is with Mr. Jenkins' example, the book as it reads, as of last night, states he must get the variance if he wants his fence.
Yeah, and he can have the variance, but is it necessary for us to charge him $100 to
Well,
get that?
yes,
As a
because the-
resident and he's paying his taxes, he's doing everything there, so he's already contributing to the annual salaries. of
You
everybody.
must read the book and you must go by the book.
Okay, well, I'm saying I'm ready to change the book
Well,
and get rid
it
of that
won't-
variance fees for residential.
Then
And
that's for the next guy. As far as Mr. Jenkins, it had to happen. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry that a lot of this, I'll tell you what, I'm anti-permits. I have been my whole life. I thought they were the biggest joke. I still think a lot of permits are jokes. I'm anti, but because I got appointed to this board and our book states the laws that we must follow them.
But you
And
guys are trying
we-
to strong arm the council right now because we're the ones who are
We
able to set the
felt-
ordinance and you guys give us a recommendation. So we had members yesterday say that they're gonna walk away because it's a slap in the face.
We
But we're
felt
hearing
it
from
was
the
a slap
general
in the
public.
face for a council member to come by themselves without a letter from the city council as a whole or from the mayor. We did feel that was an insult to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Mayor, let's move on. You guys make your decision. I'm not going to stand here and argue all night over $25.
So a
Let's-
council member can't come to those meetings and talk about it. We discussed it at the previous meeting and it was
We
discussed that I
felt
would bring
it
it
as
in front
a-
of planning and zoning. And I was disrespected by saying that I wouldn't be taken seriously. that the
Mr. Mayor, I
mayor
will
should have
walk
come to the
out if
council.
this doesn't stop soon.
Todd? We sat and listened to everything that you said.
And I listened to everything they said. Now I'm asking you to make a decision. We tabled this till next month to get the input of the entire council.
We'll do that. We'll make the decision. Move on.
That was the end of our business. What should I take back to my commission for your suggestion so we can review this again next month? Will you write us a letter? Will you give us information? What is your plans?
We will let you know.
I think we can put it in form of a letter.
Yeah, we can.
That's fair. Fair ask.
And I guess I would suggest all of you to get a copy of the planning and zoning book and read it, because there are a lot of laws in there that need to be followed every single day. And that's what we do. We follow that every day we make a decision.
Well, I've seen a lot of, over the years, Todd, and I'm not saying you, and I'm not saying some of the other members on the planning and zoning, but it has been a roller coaster. One guy's allowed to build a building 20 feet high with 20-foot sidewalls. The next guy, they bitch about 12-foot sidewalls.
The previous council did a lot of that changing. We asked for a lot of stuff. It's just like this book that's coming out that Alina's rewriting right now. There's a lot of suggestions by us. What you guys do with it, that's your decision. And then it has to be passed on. Now, the previous council made a lot of changes. We suggested a lot of stuff and it got changed. It's out of our hands now. We have to follow the book.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's contesting the fact that the rules that you have in front of you right now is, that is your guide, that you have no choice but to operate within the parameters of that. Where we're looking at it strictly is from two fees, one for the sign and one for the demolition. Out of all the work you've done, them are the only two fees that have come up. So,
And that's the start. What's going to be next?
well, I think as long as we talk about it and we get input on it and we make a decision, that's how this is supposed to be.
I just wish, Mr. Mayor, that we would have had a letter from yourself or the council. I wish you would have approached us. This looked like one council member.
We're both elected officials for the
Yes.
cities. I guess I stand with no more clout or power than any one of these. All these people have a vote, Todd.
Okay.
I don't. I just run the meeting.
Okay.
However, I do have an opinion on some of it too.
Yes.
So, I guess right now what I have a problem with is you're so offended that the city council wants to make a change on the stuff that you do. Isn't that what you're supposed to do, is give recommendations? And then we take that at face value.
I was asked by our commission to say what I said tonight
Okay,
because they were very offended.
I was invited and Amanda knew from the day after the last council that I would be there.
Well, all our
And
meetings
I was
are,
not once asked if the mayor could join or if I should have a letter written up or anything. I actually went to Amanda and I let her know the next day that I would be going to that and attending that meeting so that I could discuss the fees. I immediately took it to her. Lynn brought it up that I should approach you guys about it before I made the motion on the floor, which we tabled specifically so that I could go and talk to you guys about it and bring it back to the council. So you're offended that a council member attended the meeting to discuss something that's in the book because it wasn't officially the mayor, even though I have a vote on it?
That's what the group asked me to say. So I said what I was asked to say.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Visitors Committee.
Amanda first.
Did I miss it?
Yes, sir.
Sorry,
It's okay. I have to go if you don't want me to.
I'm old. I'm old, Amanda, so I skip a line here and there.
I want to be on the record. I did not say he was old.
No wonder you had such a funny look on your face.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you can see, we are still alive with permits. A lot of them are fences, and then some of them were for the extending the driveway aprons in the capital improvement project. You will notice the mobile home for Mr. Fallon is the building permit. I approved it after you guys approved the variance last month. And then we do have one demo permit and then 3 signs. And then, of course, that special event mobile food permit for Susie Q's ice cream. So if anybody has any questions on any of the permits, I'd be happy to answer.
Motion to approve the permits.
Pardon?
Motion to approve the permits.
Lawrence made the motion to approve the permits. Is there a second?
Second.
George seconds. Any discussion? No discussion heard. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion to approve the building permits is passed.
Just to let you guys know, at the end of this month, August 28th through the 30th, I will be in Fargo for North Dakota Building Officials Association. It's our fall continuing education that we do every year. I will be available by phone and email if anybody needs me, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I want it to be warmer longer. It's September. I even wrote it August. There you go. I'm confused. I'm going to go sit down. Maybe, Marley, I'm the one that's old. I'm old.
Brandy.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Visitors Committee members met last week. We had 2 applications and we moved to approve both of them. The first being Grapes and Grains application for $1,115, and the second being Butterfly Garden for $3,000 requested. So we recommend approval for both applications.
Move to accept the recommendation.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second.
Zach.
We also have an open seat, being that George moved into the council position. So we have visited with Ashley Cosette, and she has agreed to fill that position. So we would bring a recommendation that she fills the position, the voided, empty position of George's spot.
I gotta vote on that motion first.
Okay, sorry. I'm getting excited.
So do I. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Brandy.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
No
sorry.
problem. Ashley Cosette, we've recommended or visited with her, and she is willing to step into that position that George is now not able to fulfill. So it is our recommendation by the committee that Ashley Cosette fills that position. Cosette Holcomb. I know.
I was gonna give you that too.
Yeah, that-
Motion to approve appointment of Ashley
I'll second.
Cosette. What?
Cosette.
Oh, Cosette. I would love to.
Okay, Chad's had the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Brandy. I'm gonna put check marks beside everything so I don't miss anything from now on. The pursuit proposal.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thanks for inviting us back another month. Last month, we got the chance to propose a vision proposal that we've been working on as a group. And one of the things we've been doing is really researching. One, we know there's a very high need right now in the state of North Dakota for childcare. And one of the things we also recognize is that Montreal County is actually in higher need than a lot of counties in the state. And so we recognize in putting our plan together that we are trying to bring a lot of value to our state as well as this county specifically. So I submitted a business plan this time to you guys. Mostly, I hope that through the business plan that you guys will see the seriousness of our investment into the community and that we have a plan to move forward on things. Obviously, the childcare thing, we are working through and coming up with solutions to make that happen as well. But regardless, we have a plan to invest in this community. And so we believe our vision and our plan that we've shared really highlights the need that's in the community, but also adds value to the community by making something meaningful. You guys asked a couple really good questions last month that I want to address. And then you also had a concern just to make sure that you know that we were hearing where you guys were coming from, what you're saying. And so one of the questions that came up was, how are we going to run this facility? And a concern I believe Lauren had was having a track record of maybe outside groups and who's going to be responsible. And so our plan is to hire from within our staff to run and be responsible. So our group would be responsible for the daycare side. And I will share that in Minot, we are also opening a preschool, which is a little different for that community. We think that's a better way we can serve that community. We, in August, hired a preschool director, and we're going to launch that in the spring. So it's a similar model that we use for things, and we believe that same model will fit here as well. Pricing strategy, I don't know if it was you or one of you guys over here to my right, we're asking, hey, we've seen daycares come and go, and it seems very challenging. I shared last time that one of our philosophies is that this daycare facility will not be functioning on its own, so it doesn't need to make the profit to maintain the facilities. We have the advantage of the facilities will be maintained by the church group. And so therefore, our strategy will be to pay a lot higher wages while still offering competitive wages for the community to meet the need, but also retain workers and make sure they're valued as far as that. So those were great questions you guys asked last time. I know the other concern that I want to address, I didn't put it specifically in this plan, but in the addendum 4B, I made the statement, we propose acquiring the lot just across the alley of our building, the lot we've been talking about. And I mentioned just creative ways that we could do it last month. One of the questions that came up was like, hey, if we were to let you have this property and you no longer owned it and all of a sudden you do whatever you want with us, where is the city in that? And so I wanted to bring 3 options, not as they're set in stone, but 3 options for you guys to consider and for us to work together if you like the way they sound, to go back and forth and see what works for both groups. Option number 1 would be purchase for a minimal fee, say $10. The pursuit makes the capital improvements, and we would add a clause that in the case of the pursuit not owning the property any longer, it would automatically go back to the city and would not be able to go to anyone else. So that would be option 1. Option 2 would be purchase the property for, I'm offering in this proposal $5,000. I don't know what you guys would look for to get for that property, but that's option number 2. And then option number 3 would be lease for something like $1 per year for the duration of the pursuit owning the building across the alley. The pursuit would make capital improvements with the city, since the city would own it, would provide the liability insurance to cover the use so that it could function for our needs, but also be open to the community at all times. So those are three options. I mentioned we're willing to work and be creative, but we wanted to give clear options that we were thinking so you guys would have the ability to input and say what you guys thought as far as what would work for both parties. Hopefully you guys see in the business plan, we have a very serious timeline of finishing our project, regardless of if we are able to get this property for outdoor playground space. We're still moving forward and investing in the community, and we want to complete that project. We just know that we want to impact the community in greater ways than just us having what we need. We want to serve the community. And so hopefully you guys can see that in the plan. And at this point, I guess any questions that you guys want to ask or discuss tonight?
Anyone with any questions?
I had one on there. So it'd be closed during daycare hours. It would just be strictly used for the daycare, and then afterwards it'd just be open to the public. Is that what the plan is for it, or?
That would be up to if we had to do it that way per code for the state. But yes, there would be gates for safety, but they would not be locked and they would be open to the community.
So kind of like how the school playground is.
Yes. So I don't know the code and limitations on if public can use it at the same time. And we would have to come up with, I believe, based on the square footage, a schedule, but that would be determined by daycare licensing in the state code. But yes, the intent would be evenings, weekends, it would just always be open to the public to use as needed. And then the one thing we recognize with that lot is we try to show it in the plans, but there's an elevation change, and we want to make sure it's accessible to Main Street, but is also handicap accessible. That's why we're using a handicap sidewalk slope ramp, so we can meet the needs there too.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just clarification. I mean, so like, without this space, the church is getting built, but without it, the daycare is kind of in limbo, because that's a requirement, as I read here, 75 feet, give or take, per
Yep. So
pupil is the guidance from the state.
as far as, I don't want to make a statement that we're not able to do it, because we'll have to come up with a different way. This is the only way we've come up with to make this happen. So we have to solve that problem to be able to bring the daycare solution in our space, just based on the limitations
The
we
green
have.
spaces are required to operate a daycare.
Outdoor play space is part of the deal for daycare licensing. I put the code in the plan just so you guys could see it, so we're aware of what we're talking about. Now, there are creative ways within it. If it's a smaller space, you can obviously divide out groups to you that they work with you to make it happen, but it's still part of the thing that you have to figure out.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for presenting that. And we'll have a discussion about that after we visit with Takeaway Cafe.
Okay, do you have any next steps from tonight for us, or is it just wait to hear from you guys as far as what you guys are thinking?
Well, I think we can come to a decision fairly quickly, but it will probably take till the next meeting.
Okay.
So, any feelings, you guys?
Well, I guess I'd like to hear the take this proposal and then just have a think about it.
Yeah.
Just so that we do our due diligence and we're careful.
Yep, I'm just asking in case you want anything else from us to see as you talk about it and discuss and have questions, so.
Yeah, and you know, it's possible we may have some follow-up questions
Yep.
for both of you to clarify things and stuff, but we will come to a decision fairly quickly. I'm sure of that. So,
Okay. Thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate your guys' challenging questions because it's important you guys do that for your community. So thank you for the opportunity.
thank you. Okay, Wilson Park Takeaway Cafe.
Okay, hi you guys. Okay, our proposal, I know it was kind of short and sweet. But, okay, other than the fact that we really just need more seating, like well, we don't need it, but it seems like the community wants it. But we want to do something different. We do have a lot of eating establishments here, but I don't really feel like we have one like where I would go, say to Minot and go to like Ebenezer's or Starving Rooster or head up to Mohall or that other place. What is it?
You're rambling.
No. Anyway, like a really like cool place to go out, take your family. People would come to our town to go to. Yeah. I just feel like in the winter in particular, the idea of dining where you have all this daylight coming at you, that is something I love. And eating with greenery surrounding you. Between Ryan and I, we
Let
kind
me
of
talk.
differ. Okay,
When
you go
we
ahead, kiddo.
bought it, we
We-
had talked about that lot
Mhm,
and doing like a 4-season thing,
mhm.
but we do not have money because we bought a lemon of a building. So, but it was just like a cruddy lot that mom made dang clean. So we thought we had time. So you got kind of a thrown together thing.
The Dane is the teenager. But, and we like, the Pursuit said too, it is the lot slopes, from west to east. And our thought is to terrace it as well. The front part, like right behind the pine trees, or the evergreens, leaving them for the shade. But to build a 4-season, we're not exactly sure how big we would do it, but it would be filled with plants and some growing things. And at the back, no further than the back of our building for growing. Because even past the edge of our building, we have that small entry at the back. I mean, we need a space still for parking, so we couldn't touch it. We need the dumpster because we share with Jeff Mortenson's building. And there's just no more room left. But like we spoke with Amanda, and to do this, of course, we'd have to put in another bathroom. There's one bathroom in the place. And then depending on the square footage, it would decide how much seating we could have. I just think like Main Street, like, we're going to have the new restaurant on the corner and we have Joyce's and we'll have ours, which we are, our kitchen is pretty well placed and we can start having people come in to inspect. But I think like to make it better on Main Street, get like our eating places like the Asian restaurant, the pizza place, the Dairy Queen, love them all. They're all out along the highway. Why not make Main Street better? Bring more people to all the other businesses because people eat when they come to town and we're good cooks. We plan to do very good business. We are good
We're
cooks.
excited for you guys to open.
Yeah, we're excited too. Yes. So,
But I really want a place that people will come and take their Pinterest pictures. Because you know how young people like their
and
pictures.
besides having more seating and really nice seating, we just feel like it'd be a great event place. I mean, Ryan has suggested, hey, what if we did children's birthday parties and they get to come and do their own food? I mean, that's what we do for birthday parties in our own home, but I just feel like that'd be a good business plan to include all those things. Let people come do their events there. Okay.
Well, like I told, you have a good proposal, and I like your ideas.
Mhm.
But like I told the pastor, we're gonna have to talk about this.
Mhm.
And undoubtedly, there'll be some questions for follow-up. Be honest with you, I'd like to see both of them, but only one of you is gonna get
Yeah, we're aware of
basically
that.
chosen. And as far as I go, my feelings are that lot should never be sold. If anything, I think it should be leased for a small amount of money or whatever, but I don't think it ever should be sold. Just my feelings.
Why is that? Like, why don't you think it should be sold?
Because it's part of estate on Main Street. You know, and it's, a lot of things can be done there if you fail with yours, or if the pursuit goes away, then other people own that lot, basically. And it's tied up and, you know, nobody can make use of that lot actually on Main Street then. Right now, they're not, but I know I've heard other people mention that there's ideas as far as the city goes too for that lot, so.
Okay.
Just letting you know, I mean, there's two of you right now after that lot, and I know it's gonna take some discussion, so.
Okay, thank you.
I have one quick question though. I'm just wondering what your guys' time frame would be on turning it into that. If you guys were to win the proposal, what would be a realistic timeframe of getting that?
We would actually wait till next spring to talk to a builder, to plan it.
So spring of 23 then?
Yes.
To even start thinking about it.
Planning it.
Also, those 2 pictures in there were done by Beware.
They were amazing.
If anybody needs pictures done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's two hard decisions. I mean, both concepts are,
Well,
you know, I mean, is there any input, you know, because like we're up here, it's up to us to make the right call for the city. Is there any input? Does anybody have any, you know, is there?
I guess I have a hard time. I really love private businesses and what they're able to bring, and I think everybody should get a chance to grow, but gosh, we're really hurting for daycares, and it seems like the church is able to give that aspect of helping families without, you know, gouging them in the sense that it would allow families to really, so that businesses like the dollar store can keep staff, because, you know, people have places to take their kids, which is in definite need right now. I like, you know, the point that you just brought up about if we leased it, or, you know, like the clause right there, that if they purchased it for $10 and it would be an automatic $10 buyback for us, then that would be big if they did fail or they didn't want to stick around in Stanley, that we could then turn around and give the opportunity to them or another business if they wanted to step in there. I like that just as a backdoor, because we've all seen the daycares come and go in the area too. So
Yeah. I do remember the not too distant past, there was talks of people wanting the city to buy the building that Pursuit has purchased now to make it into a daycare.
right.
And, you know, it's like, the task is monumental. So like in the back of my head, I keep thinking, we got the best of both worlds hypothetically if somebody else is paying for it, you
Right.
know?
No, the Pursuit is definitely stepping up to do. I mean, it's nice that they're even fixing up that building for a church alone, even if there's not a daycare. It's definitely a bonus for there, but a daycare for the community is awesome. I like that the church is going to be responsible and it's not just going to be rented out to somebody. I think that was something that really needed ownership over, because we've seen the daycares come and go and fail. It's just, I also like to sit and eat with plants too. I'm all about that. So it's difficult. So
any other discussion?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Sure you can.
I guess my suggestion to the council would be, I guess, which either one you decide to allow to purchase, lease, that I think the same clause that the Pursuit proposed should be the case for either individual or entity. That we should have a clause that we have first right to the property if they decide to sell it, or that it comes back to the city automatically. And I guess I would also, just my own opinion, I would prefer not to do the lease option with the Pursuit, because then if we have to have liability insurance, I guess would be my opinion.
Either way, we have to have coverage on that.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying.
But I guess what I'm saying is our liability insurance that we're carrying currently would cover whatever goes on there. Regardless.
Well,
I wouldn't say
we're gonna- if we did let them do this, our liability is going to be covering that anyway if it's open to the public. So it's really it's a moot issue,
Yeah,
kind of.
what she's saying is that, because if we sold it, it would be one less parcel.
Only if they locked it up and kept it for themselves.
Well, if they own it, you wouldn't, your liability insurance doesn't have to pay anything that happens on it. Either one would buy the lot.
If it's open to the city and it's,
Well,
Uh,
that's the assumed liability there. If they own it, leave the gate open, let people play it, that's not our problem. That's no different than if they got it now. If the neighbor kids come over to play basketball, your driveway and get hurt, that's not a liability.
That kind of brings up a question that maybe that we could get an answer later. If we did that route where we sold it for a low amount to the pursuit with first option to buy it back or just get it back, could you get insurance that would cover leaving it open to the public? Because that seems like that would be a pretty high liability.
Wasn't there a church open to the public though? I mean, isn't that Disney?
Well, if it's open at night or, you don't have people there, just like an open playground, is a private entity going to be able to get insurance to even? That might, I don't know, that could be a deal breaker if it was my business, I guess, but.
Does it would it be? There wouldn't be times there. It would just be looking for the good faith use.
Yeah, we would have, we have liability cover for our stuff. I guess the question I would have to figure out is how that works in the aspect. So I can get.
I would like to go next month to be able to visit.
yeah, I think it,
But I don't want to make it longer.
I think they're both important.
They're both very qualified uses of that property. Just want to make sure that you have the diligence on it.
One other follow-up, and I just bring these up because I think it'll be easier to make the decision if we have as much information as possible, and I'd also want a month to think about it. I haven't made a decision, but will it be problematic operation-wise, just having that area cleaned up, open to the public, and having equipment that's, a lot of daycares, if you look at their playground equipment, it isn't quite like what the park has, for instance. If we're going to leave it open to the public, then it needs to be safe for the public and built to withstand that, I guess.
So,
But
our vision comes from, you guys have been at Oak Park in Minot. They have areas where they have designated spaces for certain regions. So part of their space is designed more like walkways and running space for the Americans. Similar vision, there's a company that we research that we use to actually design that space. So it would be very similar quality in design to what you guys have at your pool area where that park is. It would be that type. I put the pictures just to give you an idea. But we would design it with commercial playground in mind. And we want to maximize the space. It's under a lot. So we would cover.
And how much additional seating would it be if you had it for your restaurant?
Lauren said, it's gonna depend on square footage, what you do. And so we don't know. She said it was,
I didn't hear that, I guess.
I did not Lauren, man, sorry, no one can look confused. I know where Lauren came from, but, yeah, but I don't know why I said it.
Make sure you want to come up to the microphone.
Oh,
So they don't have the design of the building yet. So they
Yeah,
don't
no,
know
we
how many
don't.
square feet the building will be, so they don't have an idea yet of how much actually seating it would be. Let's just say.
exactly, yep.
Okay.
Since I'm standing here though, I just like, I wish somebody else would say this, so I don't sound like the bad guy, but I'm gonna talk anyway. Like, on the other side of that, there's a playground, and this is our wall. I mean, it's a restaurant there. I mean, it's a very narrow lot, and we have a restaurant on the other side of the wall. I don't myself, and not because I want the lot, playground on Main Street seems, I don't care if there's fences, that is unsafe. We're between a busy commercial alley and Main Street. I wouldn't be sending, I just wouldn't do it. I can't even understand how it would be safe, even with fences and the noise in our restaurant. And everybody loves to hear children play, but when you're sitting down eating, and it's an old building, you hear everything.
But it is separated by a block wall. I mean, there's no windows or
wall.
anything on that side, right?
Yeah, there are, yeah.
Are there windows?
There's block windows, yeah. Not, to be honest, not in the actual front room, but the rooms going down to the west, yes. So, okay, thank you.
Yes, it is. All of the Main Street lots are buildable because they have very different setbacks than what a regular commercial lot. They're allowed to use, it's basically zero setback on the front and then each side. And then I believe there's a small setback if no setback in the rear of the building. You just have to know where your property pins are. That way you can really maximize that whole area because they are such narrow lots. But yeah, they do.
And there was a business on that lot, and then it just,
Right.
So there always was a business there. Same with the lot where we worked on the gazebo there, that was also a business. The 2 lots straight across the street, there was a business on that one. Pretty much anywhere that you see a fence or pine trees on Main Street, there used to be a business.
Yep.
And also for clarification, the lot coverage is 100%. There is no rear setback. The only setbacks that would come into play is if that building as a downtown commercial abutted a residential neighborhood on either side, then the setback would be 10 feet on either side. But because they don't, it is 100% coverage, 100% buildable.
Mr. Mayor, could I help with your investigation? Dennis Lindahl, Tioga Area Economic Development.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you may have read that we're interested in doing more cooperation with the surrounding communities. That was in the Tioga Tribune a number of months ago. And so I'm here basically in the interest of childcare because in the past, citizens of both communities have kind of exchanged back and forth. Tioga will bring their students here and same vice versa. And then we also, of course, have the dance studio. So there's a lot of interplay when it comes with the children. And so I'm very interested in this. First off, I'd like to commend the city of Stanley. Just a quick accounting as I was sitting back there, on your kind of 4 blocks of Main Street, you have 28 active businesses. And along with that, you have 7 ancillary businesses that are on the outside of the Main Street. And then you have 3 government buildings. And so I think that if you were to go around to some of the other communities, there would be a lot of communities that would envy what you guys have on Main Street. With that being said, the demonstration, so as we have been working with the developers over the years, one of the first things that they do when they come to town is they investigate the Main Street. And investigating the Main Street, developers are going to look for evidence of life. So you're going to look for vibrance. I would forward that, so as you guys are in your investigation process, you take a look and compare, say like if, you know, I don't know, we haven't spoken about, I'm Dennis Lindahl, by the way. We haven't spoken about how many children that you would have at the daycare. So I was just doing some napkin math. Okay, well, if you had 30 children, and let's say that was able to put 20 people to work. 20 people were able to go to work because of that. Let's say their average salary was between 40 and 60,000. Let's be super conservative and say you could have 15 people that would return to work in your community. So then you take that average salary, now those are filled positions. And then if you were to say 30 children per day in those downtown lots, that's 30 children per day, 5 days a week. And once again, being conservative, let's just say 150 uses per week. That brings you to 6,000 uses per year. So that's 6,000 pitter patter of little feet coming to downtown. And that is probably going to be a parent bringing them. So when you start talking about vibrancy in your downtown area, you now have customers for the restaurant. You have customers, you have people that are now going to be coming downtown because there is no daycare on downtown right now. So you now have new vibrance downtown. And I know a number of years ago, my company, Dakota Public Relations, we did the downtown survey when you were kind of trying to investigate how to replace the traffic that was lost from the post office. This would be an excellent project to replace that lost traffic from the post office. So just a couple things, and I've got other things that I could share with you about, you know, going through your investigation and finding out, you know, I've noticed that lot has got a peculiar topography, and in that topography, the first thing you're going to have to ask is, what is the usable space per square foot on the front side? And then what is the usable per square footage on the back side? And if there needs to be any remediation, which is going to require engineering. So there may be some of that also. So just a couple things that I wanted
hate to cut you short here, but you're not on the agenda.
Yes, no,
We've
I just
got a
wanted
long
to,
agenda here,
I just
so-
wanted to kick that in there. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. With that being said, we will come to a decision this month on it and bring it up at the next month's council meeting for the two of you. We're not going to keep you waiting forever, but we want to make the right decision, you know, so. With that said, brings up dangerous buildings and Greenstone Schmies.
Hello again. You tabled the item 3 weeks ago, I believe, and we're here again. I've provided all the information to Amanda. She has all the engineering reports. She has all the reports that we provided, or that we were required in our stipulation agreement that we didn't sign because I explained it to you last time.
Right.
The stipulation agreement has only two things left to do in it. One was to file for a permit. That's a 2-week process. We've met with contractors. We've talked to contractors on phones. We know what we're going to do. We know what our limitations are because of the type of construction that it is. If we don't start sooner, it won't start till after winter because it is concrete. We have a shotcrete contractor lined up that will come up shortly after our permit's approved and start that. We have a cleanup contractor that's going to come in. We don't have his bid yet, but our intentions are to bring him in and totally clean the entire 7 acres up.
Did you commit to that?
Huh?
Did your cleanup guy commit to that?
He's very interested in doing it. He's a local contractor. I don't know. You can, you know him better than I do. Yeah. No, he didn't. He hasn't given us a bid yet. No.
That was my question. I wanted to see how forthright, you were gonna be with us when I said we can make it available to the guy.
He's interested, that's all I said. Yeah, there's no agreement as to terms or anything yet. We would most likely hire him to get that work done. He's a local contractor. And that's where we are. We've looked at our project in quarters, okay? The building permit that we would get is a 1-year building permit. Within the first quarter, if our building permit were issued by the end of the month, we could have all the exterior and all of the concerns with the 9-plex building resolved. And what I mean with that, doors, windows, outside exterior finish, all that done within this quarter, and the grounds cleaned up. Our intention would be then to work on the interior during the winter months of the 12-plex and finish it and get it ready. We talked with Amanda today briefly and said that we would like to get it ready to actually lease out, and ask if you would consider granting occupancy of the 12-plex. And she said that's an issue for city council, whether or not she doesn't have the right to make that decision. I believe, don't let me put words in your mouth, Amanda. Tell me if I'm out of bounds.
There was a lot of hypothetical questions that were
Right.
coming up.
Right.
Depending on what you guys decided this evening, I was by no means speaking for you.
No.
But there were some questions like, I know before we had talked about if they were to complete or start working on the buildings, this was months ago, that I had asked the council that both buildings be done and ready to be occupied before they were allowed to occupy either one of them, only because I think it's a safety concern having a construction right next to living quarters. He did ask today if you guys decided that they were allowed to complete those buildings, would that be something that they would be allowed to do? And I said, normally I could make a recommendation to you guys, but because of the history of these buildings, that decision would need to be in your hands, whether that would even be allowed or not, depending on if they were allowed to build or if you guys go along with the demolition.
I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, is basically, I think. Because what I want to see is a document guaranteeing us that by quarter, what you're going to have done, if you fault on it at any point, we tear the buildings down.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, we're putting ourselves out on a limb right now because there's a lot of people in this community that just want those buildings raised.
Okay. And you have the full right to do that. That's, we're not going to go back in history and talk about it. I wasn't even involved historically with this process. I'm trying to resurrect this process and make it a viable, meaningful project for the community.
All I'm saying is I think there should be a document. I want to see a document before.
I want to see the letter of intent from the bank that you have a 400,000 surety bond to us before anything, because I by no way, shape, or form am willing to turn around to the people that we already told we'd get rid of those buildings to. We have lowered their property values by having them out there. They are a danger and a hazard to our community. They are an eyesore. They have brought nothing but problems to our entire community. And my hardest thing is turning around to those people that were so happy to see them gone to say, hey, we're going to do that. And the only way I would be willing to take a step back is to say, I'm not going to spend the money out of their tax dollars to tear it down, because when you default, I want to use your money to tear it down.
Yeah.
I mean, I still even question if any reputable person that would stand behind those buildings and say, I would get it up to par, instead of somebody saying, I'd like to see them tear down and start again, because I drove by them. I know I had asked for access for Amanda to show me because the building is waving in the wind on the side.
Right.
Yet you guys, there's been no address to let's clean it up for the community or the kids that walk and play, because they bike that loop that's out there. I don't know if you've driven out there, but there's kids that walk and bike along there. There's a new beautiful bike path that we're putting gorgeous homes on the golf course, and that's what they look out their front window at every time they pull away, and you guys have failed at every single step. I have zero faith in you guys.
Well,
And
time
the
out for a
only thing
second.
would be a document from the bank that would say that I would use your money to tear it down, and not their
Okay.
tax dollars.
Time out for a second. We have been held at bay by the city, have not been able to do any of the maintenance or repairs on
Because
that.
you failed. Amanda's given you
I-
guys time and time again to
we
do it.
can
So
sit
we
here and
haven't held you
talk.
at bay. You
Fine.
guys have failed to do what you were
We-
supposed to do.
We came here last December for the first time since we had stopped the project. And we said we wanted to work on it and get going. We would have started in spring. We were told, no, you're not going to do any of that until there is a permit in place, until you have contractors on the job that are North Dakota. And there's a lot of stuff that had to be done.
Well, those things would be, then there were no ducks in the row on your part to have it done because you didn't have a
Okay.
permit and you didn't have
Okay.
that. So once again, you guys failed to obtain the things to get the ball moving, because I can guarantee that Amanda did not sit on those things and say, you have everything in, but we're not gonna let you touch the
No.
property.
That's not what I said.
But that's what you're inferring.
No,
because
I'm
you're
not
saying
inferring
we
that.
kept you at bay from doing
I
what you
said
wanted
the
to do. You
nature
didn't
of
have-
the dangerous building process kept us from doing anything. That's what I said. I didn't say it was Amanda's fault. I said they have kept us from doing anything on the project. Anytime we go there, we have to tell Amanda. We're not allowed to touch anything on the property.
Because of the condition of the buildings.
And where do you go? I mean, you can hold us at bay so long. We could have cleaned that up last March easily, okay? It's that you said, no, it's your property, but we deemed it dangerous, so you will not touch it.
Amanda, have they made any effort to contact you to ask if they can have access to clean up that building?
The problem is, as soon as it was deemed dangerous and you guys approved that, they are not allowed to do any work until it's gone through the whole process. But with that being said, prior to that, nobody has ever reached out in the years prior to that. And I know that Mr. Taylor was not involved at that point, but nobody had reached out prior to that to try to help clean up that, to do any of that. So.
I agree.
And
I'm
that
not
was
disagreeing
not-
with any of that.
And that was not him, but that is, I just wanted to clarify, that is why they are not allowed. They were not allowed to do any cleanup in the spring or any other time, because as soon as we started the dangerous building process, it halts all of that for the specific reason of it is already a danger. And we wanted to bring it to you guys, and we have to follow through with our ordinance. And they're not allowed. And they are, he is correct. Because it is a dangerous building, if they want to be on the property, I have to be there with them. They are not allowed to be on the property by themselves.
And we can't,
So, and
on
that's
top of
according to
that,
the
we can't
ordinance.
remove anything from the property
No.
or add anything to the property.
Correct. No work
Nothing.
can be done and nothing can be taken off the property.
So
So you have a schedule.
we'd be, I'll put that, yes, we have it written down. I'll provide that. Do you want me to try it through Amanda? I can provide that to Amanda and we can go through that whole process.
And then along with that, your letter of assurance or your
I'm going to talk to you about
Where's that at?
well, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. We had our entire bank process in place with letter of assurance. When the bank found out that you guys deemed it unsafe and we're going to tear it down, I came to that last meeting. I took that back to the bank. The bank said, we're done. Okay? We have the funds to do it. Okay? And we will come do it. What happens now is we could probably go to the bank and get a letter of assurance, okay, separately, but it's difficult right now because what happens, it ties up our capital instead of having a construction loan.
Without that, I would be totally against.
That's fine.
That
I
is
mean,
also
yeah, I mean,
true.
that's your choice. I'm going to give you just two statistics then, and you guys can make your decision because I'm not going to come up here week after week after week. I will go through and follow through with what we said, and we will do the project and we will finish it within a year. But I will tell you this, there's 2,000 tons of concrete and ridiculous material in that building, okay? I had our cost estimator do that. To haul that 51 miles in either direction to a dump and have it tore down it would cost in excess of $500,000 to $600,000. Labor, trucking, fuel, and dump fees. We're not interested in tearing it down. We want to complete it. I'm only telling you that to say it's not even reasonable to consider tearing it down. Okay? So you guys can make that decision. If you make that decision, and I'm going to tell you this not as a threat, as a limited liability company, we would walk away. And I just want you to know that. And I'm not trying to, that's not a threat. That's just, it doesn't make any sense for us to be involved anymore. If you decide to tear it down and we don't get to finish our investment, see, there's a further story here. You've got two buildings that are a blight on the community right now. I agree with you 100%. We either finish them and make them useful and meaningful to the community, and there's seven other acres that can be developed. We would be happy to do that, okay? And we would keep doing that. I can't say anything other than that. You as a council have to make a decision. You have constituents that are concerned. I've talked to a few of those constituents. They're not as negative as you portray them to be.
But we can't take you at your word on this.
Yeah, you can.
No, we
Because,
can't.
yeah, you can.
We have constituents.
No. I'm not saying that my word. I will gladly put a timeline together. We'll make some agreements. We'll sit down with your attorney and Amanda and lay that out. Okay, we'll assure it to the level that we can assure it. I don't know what that is this minute, but we will do that. Okay, all I'm saying is let us finish the project. If you choose not to, we don't have any reason to do anything.
Do you have the document from 2 weeks before that meeting where you had the approval for the?
I'll give you the gentleman's name and you can call him.
I'm curious to know that you said you acquired the document. I'm wondering if you have a copy of that
What
document. that you can
document
provide,
are you asking?
where you had the funds in place for it before we said we were going to tear it down. You just got done saying that.
Yes, there are two things. Number one, there's an $8,500 appraisal that was done. Amanda met him on site. That was bank generated. The bank approved the loan based on that appraisal and what we had here.
In the last meeting though, you said it was a surety bond is what you said that.
No,
you were-
the surety bond was part of the bank's agreement. They were going to provide a letter of credit with our construction note stating that they would do it. That letter of credit in the bank size would be a letter of credit that was $400,000 that would reduce as we completed, and we'd be signing off on it as we went along. And that was what our bank had agreed to, and that's what we were going to propose. But we came back to a meeting where we're going to tear the building down. So, I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to sit here and beg you to do the project. It means, funding for some businesses in your community. There's going to be people that are doing something. We have to spend $1.5 million to get it done. Some of that money is going to come back in ways to the community, either in hotels, meals, whatever. I don't know what to say. I'm not here to beg you. I don't really want to go spend $1.5 million, but we're going to. So that's all. You can beat me up all you want. It's not going to do any good.
It's not about beating you up.
Well,
It's just that we have people.
I understand.
In our community that are.
I understand.
They're trusting us to do the right thing here.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I'm gonna.
It's gone on for how many years?
I've been here since December, and I returned and returned and
No,
returned.
but I understand.
And we're going to get it done.
But
What we're contained by the code and the ordinance. As soon as we get to where you come to this agreement, we can get to work. So I even asked Amanda today. I said, "Can I bring John on right now, prior to all this being done?" She said, "Sometimes you can, but with this ordinance in place, it may not be possible." I don't know.
You cannot because it is a dangerous building.
Okay, so same thing.
Until the council decides whether the building is getting demoed or if you guys are going to allow, nothing can be done to that property.
Yeah,
So I guess my question to you is, you're saying that you're gonna get it done.
What, I'm gonna what?
You're saying that you're gonna get it done. And
Yes.
You're gonna get it done in 1 year.
Yep, exactly.
Now, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate
Go ahead.
What if you don't put that in?
There isn't going to be a question because we're not going to spend $1.5 million. We're not going to come in here and invest that kind of money and then not get it done.
The question is there,
Yeah, I know.
because how much money is invested in it now to sit like it is? I bet it's $1 million stuff into it already.
$8 million
So
with land costs. I mean, back when we bought the land, it was over $1 million.
$8 million sitting there that they didn't choose to finish. You
No,
said yourself, they stopped the project.
Well, yeah, but they stopped for a couple of reasons, and I can go into all the detail. I'll tell you one of the details right up front, just so you know. The main investor in the project had pancreatic cancer, and his life went in a different direction, okay? He was an 80% owner of the project, all right? That, I didn't bring that to you any time before, but that's what happened, okay? That was one thing. The other thing was oil prices dropped, things changed. They sat there. It's just like the other people that have other rentals in town. We drive into Stanley and there was camp after camp after camp with all these trailers. And we thought, why do we want to finish this? They're all sitting out there in trailers anyway. So we stopped. We made a conscious decision to stop. It wasn't our intent to leave it there to make it look blighted and to cause harm to the community. It was not an intention. Okay. It needs to be done. We will come do it. We'll write an agreement. We'll sit with your attorney, you and Amanda, whatever. We'll write an agreement. We'll see what a surety we can put in place. I can't guarantee you that right this second, but we'll see what a surety makes sense. We'll come to an agreement that makes sense, and we'll finish it. And we'll get to work on it as quickly as we can.
So you're coming back one more time.
I'll come back one more time if I have to.
Because
I'm
without the surety, without the agreement.
You can't make a decision tonight.
I'm making a decision tonight. My vote's gonna be to put it back on the table.
I understand.
Are you caught up on taxes?
Huh?
Is it caught up on taxes
Have
right
to be
now?
I have to visit with the tax folks today. We have to make a payment by March 1st, which we will take care of. Okay, but we will not take care of all the taxes until we know where we're headed with this project.
So you're 3 years in the rear right now.
Yeah, 19 is the latest, the oldest one.
Well, I'm willing to sit down with you and attorneys and one more time
We'll be glad to.
and bring to the table your assurances or to prove to us that we've got something credible to give back to the people in Stanley.
I understand. I don't envy the council. I know what a job you have to go through. I'm not questioning your integrity at all. I'm just telling you, it doesn't make sense to tear it down. It's costly. The $500,000 to tear it down and put into it could make it a beautiful place. So,
Well, even at half of that, it's expensive to tear down. There's no question about that. If it can be on the tax rolls, that's what I'd like to see. But we've got to have some assurances.
I understand.
Are you gonna be able to make those assurances if it's still considered a dangerous building though? Because that's been
You're-
what you've said so far tonight is that you couldn't
No.
meet any of those timelines because you can't even go on the property.
Well, we
So how are
can't
you gonna
right
do
now.
anything more in the next month?
As soon as this body gives approval, I guess, to Amanda, I can give her the permit so that it'll take her a couple of weeks to get the permits approved. And we can start doing work on the project. But we won't do any of that till we come to an agreement. And I understand that. I think it's a point well taken. I wouldn't expect it any other way. But there's got to be some give and take on that due to what's going on. So
For clarity, Zach, the dangerous building ordinance does ask you guys as a council to either make the decision to vacate, demolish, or repair. So when you guys make that decision, you can make the decision that you would either like it to be demolished, which you guys had already talked about that in resolution last month, or that you would like it to be repaired. If you guys do make the decision that you want it to be repaired, that would be when they would be allowed to start turning in building permits, plans, etc. I'll also mention that you guys had already approved a settlement agreement. So if there's things that you guys would like to add, those assurances from him, that agreement that has already been written, that you guys have already approved, has all of those things, that surety bond of $400,000, all of those things are in there. So that could be something that you guys could add to instead of having to completely redo it,
Right.
another
Well, that would
agreement.
be my thought. We had an agreement in place. If it would have followed that timeline, we wouldn't.
Well, we
Correct.
basically.
And that's
And I'm
the
not,
agreement
I'm
that
not saying
hasn't been
who,
Well, no,
why
it-
it didn't
it-
follow the
it-
timeline. I'm just saying we already kind of have the agreement. We just need to get it followed.
Yeah.
Making the decision of removing the quote unquote dangerous building.
Right.
And turning it back to completely repair.
Right.
I'd recommend that we have a meeting on 27 September, a special meeting, so that we can put this to bed one way or the other.
That's fine. Like I said, we're in it to finish it, okay? But our hands are tied for right now.
Also, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said that the surety bond would kind of start titrating down
Well-
as you get, just a second, please,
Yeah.
as you finish the quarters or the parts of the project. Does that mean that if you get halfway through the project and it goes belly up, the city is only allowed to claim $200,000 of that? Because in the agreement, it said $400,000.
Right now, there is no assured bond. They deny it.
Right.
They didn't,
But
they
I
didn't
know
authorize
Mr. Mayor
it.
had said that that was a requirement that he would not even consider until that was in place. Does that whole $400,000 stay there for that whole time and guarantees the city, no matter if you default at day 1 or day
It
360?
depends on where we get that surety from. If we go back to our bank, who
Mhm.
has already agreed to do it, they may do that without a construction note. But it's not my decision. I'm a 10% owner in this business. That's why I can't sit here and say, absolutely, we'll do it with no problem now, because that changed. So I need to talk to the bank and talk to the other owners and come back. And I think we have plenty of time between now and the 27th to get you the information.
Okay,
And go.
I really think that's the direction we should go. Is there agreement here on that?
I'll make a motion, move to set a special meeting with the Greenstone and Schnees on September 27th at 4:15 p.m.
We're just Greenstone, just so you know. We're not that other, whoever the other entity is.
Okay, Greenstone.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Tuesday, the 27th, that we said?
Yep.
Long and short of it, I guess for discussion, long and short of it is if we tell them right now that it rocks, you're guaranteed a $600,000 bill back to the taxpayer. He just got done telling us he's not paying $75,000 in back taxes.
It's 115,000.
And he's not paying a nickel towards the removal of the 2 buildings.
Well, nobody would.
Well, and I'm not trying to be rude about it. I'm just saying, we'll build this and finish it. I'm sitting here telling you that today. We will complete it. We'll invest $1.5 million into it and finish it. I'm telling you that right here.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like when we voted on that, we already knew that. And we already heard back from the general public that everybody was on that page, I guess is my thing. Like, when we agreed to tear it down, we all knew we were being hit with that bill. So now I heard surety bond, then I'm hearing not. And so in my eyes, that's where I'm sitting. If he would have came to the table with one today, it would have been totally different, but in my eyes.
Deserves one more chance to at least get some of that money in case they do flop.
I've sat in your position in a bigger city, Logan, Utah. I would never in a million years tear a building down. I wouldn't do it. I'm a property rights advocate, number one. I know it's dangerous. There's some reasons that you have that code. I understand that. I would never tear a building down, especially when somebody's coming here telling you, I'm going to get this done. We need to come to an agreement. We need to say, here's what we can work with and what you guys feel comfortable about. And we need to get contractors on the job and get it done. That's all I'm saying.
September 27th, bring your A game.
Okay. All right.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second.
Question.
Okay, all in favor, well, no, let's take a roll call vote on this.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
All right.
Chad?
All right.
All right,
Thank you so much.
you bet.
Mayor, may I make a comment first? So.
You sure may.
I guess just with the Schmies property, obviously, we've had no contact from the bank or from the property owner. And obviously, we did, in the same case with Greenstone, we approved a resolution, to move forward with calling for bids for demolition. Is that something you still want Amanda and I to proceed with doing?
No. I don't. I want it.
This would be this is different. It's the other property, the house.
Oh, I see.
We did the same process for that one as we did with Greenstone. So that's why we're just wondering, we haven't done anything because obviously we were holding off with Greenstone. But I guess, what we're asking is if we can proceed with doing a call for bids for demolition on the Schmies property. That's a
It's
mouthful.
already been voted on and the only thing that's left is for me to sign the resolution.
Correct.
So yes, I will sign that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Rose Engineering.
Donovan, are you on the phone with us?
He's sleeping.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you please try to speak up as loud as you can?
Yeah, I don't know if this is any better, but can you hear me any better?
Is that
A little bit better, but not
Well,
great. So.
We got you, Donovan. There's just a 15-second delay.
We have you, Donovan. There's just a 10 or 15-second delay, so go ahead and start.
okay. So I'll first start on the capital improvements project. Just a brief update. They should have finished all the water and sewer services on 2nd Street there, and I believe they're out working on First now, between First and Railroad. They're going to be utility crew, probably be finishing up here in a week and a half, and the concrete crew and the road crew will be here yet for some time. One thing, I guess, it was obviously tabled at the last meeting, fuel cost escalation that was tabled at the last council meeting. This contract that with Wagner, there is no fuel cost adjustment clause in the contract. Where they are coming from is the DOT offers a fuel cost adjustment clause time of bid, and contractors must sign an affidavit them opting in or out of that clause at that time. Just an example, like the NDA shared use bike path, that contractor opted in to the fuel cost adjustment clause, and to date that has increased that project like $9.2 thousand. At the last meeting, Wagner had requested roughly $34,000. I kind of have it broken out there what numbers they were looking at. I think Lynn probably got a new updated cost of just under $51,000. Wagner stated that this was a one-time adjustment for the trucking of the aggregate basement removals and the diesel equipment. We'll note that they did say that none of their other suppliers at this time have requested to them adjustment in their contract. Does anybody have any questions on that project at this time?
There's nothing that he said. I couldn't give really anything about what he was saying, so.
Give me the abbreviated version, Zach.
I think as far as progress, he just reiterated what is in writing there, not much new. Fuel cost adjustment, he went into quite a bit of detail. All I would say there is there's no fuel adjustment clause in the contract. He gave examples of DOT projects that have them, but we don't have one in this contract.
Exactly.
I'd make a motion to deny the change request on the fuel, based on, it's no different than the pipe that you buy, the asphalt that you order, whatever it may be. Had a year to pre-order.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Lynn had a question.
Any discussion?
Sorry, I guess, Tim, are you on the phone with us also?
Yes, I am. If you can hear me.
Okay. Tim would be with Wagner Construction, and obviously they're next on the agenda. I guess I didn't know if you wanted to have any discussion with him. That's why I guess I just thought I would bring it up.
Well, question's been called for, so I have to get a vote here.
Sorry, Barb, second?
Yes.
Yep.
Can I, discussion or?
Who called for the question? I don't think question was called for. Is this the motion?
I
and
thought you
second?
called for a question.
No, I made the motion to deny.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
And I didn't.
So I can do roll call?
No, we can have discussions. That's
Okay.
not a question.
I think the reason Donovan brought this up is that's just the engineering perspective. Tim might have a whole nother argument, and there's a whole nother agenda item.
Yep.
So
We tabled it from last month though to kind
Yeah.
of think about what he gave us, and I think that's what we were making this decision.
yeah, I
on
just
today.
want to make sure everybody aware that there's another agenda item and there's the whole letter from Wagner, and I wasn't trying to address the letter from Wagner. I'm just
Yep.
kind
No.
of reiterating what Donovan said.
And I do understand. And Tim, if you're on the phone, I mean, we're into this right now.
Sure.
Do you have anything further to add?
Yes. Well, the only, it is a request, not a demand. But we would share this money with our contractors. Mr. Friddle was under contract.
Tim, can you try speaking up louder, please?
I will try to speak as loud as I can. Contract is with Mr. Friddle for trucking on this project, and he cannot stay in business and honor the contract. We have worked with him to get as much as we could from Mr. Friddle. If I had to make him honor his contract with all the trucking that was required for the project, it could put him out of business. So Wagner Construction did not hold him to his contract, but we have given him fuel cost adjustments and have also hired other contractors to do the trucking at a higher rate. You're saying that we're under contract with you in the city, and you should just honor the contract, no matter what hardship that puts on the contract. Being a contractor, we just don't feel that is completely reasonable. This is not a normal 5-10% rise in the cost of doing business, but it's 100% increase in the cost of doing business. Something that is put into contracts under force majeure, which is unseen events caused by war or act of God that was unforeseeable by the contractor, that they don't need to honor the contract because of some other conditions. So that was what our request is to increase the rate of the contract so that we can cover our expenses. And I think that in the letter, all of the details are set out with actual invoices showing you what our bid estimate was versus what our cost that we're incurring. So I mean, it's not like that we're trying to get the money for something here. We're trying to keep your contractors in business, and we're trying to stay in business as well.
Well, there's been a motion made and it's been seconded to decline on that, to decline payment on that. So with that said,
Is there an argument to be made by any of the rest of you as to meet in the middle, anything? Is it just
he bid the job. That's the way that is.
I think everybody's hit across the board the same way. I think it'd be unreasonable to go back to the taxpayers and get more from them. That's where I'm sitting on it.
You open that can of worms, we have to do that for every contractor we have. Bros, did your fuel price go up? It did. You're not gonna turn in a request on it. That's what I mean. So, with that said, is there any other discussion? Without hearing any other discussion, I'm going to call for a roll call vote on this.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
all right?
Okay, the motion carries. It is denied. And Zach, you want to continue with the Bros presentation?
The council action item there is just to approve their pay app. That doesn't have anything to do with the fuel cost adjustment. That's work they've done since the last pay app was approved for 1.263 million.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
What?
George.
Chad and George. Discussion on it? Roll call vote on that.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
Okay, motion carries. It is approved.
Are we still on the road stuff right now? I had one comment on that. I went out and I looked at 3rd Street and I had noticed, well, I think we all noticed that it was pointed out the decline on the one side. The sidewalk doesn't quite meet up properly. And I think if we looked at that area, it would be, what is that, 3rd and 3rd Street, right in between 5th and 6th. But I also, I mean, the grade there is, I mean, it's kind of an issue. But then also, I'm wondering why we didn't include slabs for other people's walkways. I know that we were just supposed to replace what's there, but I feel like it'd be a very minimal increase to some people. I snapped some pictures too, because I feel like we're wanting the boulevard to look really nice in those areas. So we have other ones that have 2 walkways going up to their house, and then you look over to the left-hand side and you have somebody who is, you know, right from their house, they have cement coming right down, right into grass. So we instantly know that they're just gonna walk across that grassy area. It's gonna be a bald patch or something along the lines. Why wouldn't we put some slabs in those places?
I do know that the request or what was approved prior to the election was to replace what was existing. There was no, the property owner could have requested it, and the building permit requested that piece to be poured.
Okay.
That's what it would have required, was for them to ask for it to be done, and then it would have happily done that. We've changed several driveway ramps, if you will, upon request through the building permit process. 3 or 4.
So they would individually need to make a request on that? It wouldn't be something that we
For
could?
that one piece of cement that you're talking from the sidewalk to.
And I think there was 3 on, you know, all the way up that I had noticed, and I just think, I mean, eventually it'll start to look poor because it's not gonna be kept as grass or whatever it'll be, because people will walk right across.
The que-
You can't make the assumption that they want it unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at.
A question that I have, Zach, is been approached by some of the people on the street down here, 3rd Street, is it?
3rd Street would be the one that runs on the.
No, it's first, 3rd Avenue and 1st Street, running down. We got a water line running across there. When can they expect to get that out of there? Because everybody's got their water on right now. And that's a pretty quick demo job and just a loader to back drag that sand away. So they don't have to keep driving over that hump. Is that something we could take care of or, you know, I mean, have them take care of right away?
Probably don't have the answer to that as far as how soon that could be, but Donovan, are you talking, is the pipeline running east and west or north and south?
It's running north and south. Well, there is one running east and west too, as well. But all those people have water right now. There's really no reason for those pipelines to be there. So it's a matter of cutting it up and pulling it to the side and getting rid of the gravel. I would think they could do that fairly quickly. And it is a pain in the butt for the residents to be driving over them if they don't have to.
And not to forget, Laura's second point was I guess I'm just gonna call it the gross angle of the sidewalk on the block of 3rd Street and 6th Avenue on the east side of the road. And then it would be the next block to the north, it would be the homes on the west side of the road. The degree of angle to the sidewalk that approaches the curb is, I didn't measure it, but I'm guessing some of them are in the neighborhood of 20 degrees.
Oh, they're dangerous.
Way off. It's almost to the point where there's a couple of them where the elderly live, I think they're not.
I cannot imagine anybody pouring that without asking the question, to be honest. I wouldn't have
I mean,
poured
that's something
that.
we'd have to look at in the field. I honestly can't even,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I even know which one
Yeah.
you're talking about. But
I think you're gonna have to go take a look at it, because it's gonna be, we're not talking about liability, that one. There's liability that we're gonna about there.
Yeah.
I think, just looking at it,
Donovan can hear me. But just looking at it, I think what happened, it looks like you raised the elevation of the road right there.
On which street?
On 3rd Street. Like right off of 6th Avenue, the first 2 blocks going north.
Okay.
It's, if you looked at it right now, it'd be completely obvious to you that we can't leave it like that. If I won't just say elderly, but if anybody got out and that was icy at all and tried to walk down that, they're gonna go on their butt.
Yeah, so when are you back in town, Donovan? Because I'd be happy to take a ride with you again and take a peek at it.
Monday. I get back Monday.
Okay.
Be back at work.
I hope we don't have ice by then.
I shouldn't.
So if you want to just get with me, Donovan, on your schedule and see what we can get together and take a little trip again. Does that work for you?
Sounds good. Yep, that would work.
Okay.
And I have one other quick thing, just because in the last couple days, they had started right in front of our work at the USDA building. So we have the one side, we can't exit out of the alleyway to the south because they had just, poured the apron and the curb. And they also tore up the front street, and we have a giant mound of dirt into our driveway. So I drive a car, so I can't get up into there. But at the end of our alley, the only way to get out or access our building to where we have parking, there's a giant mound of dirt there, which is what they're using to move. But the trucks are parking there. And so we are getting blocked in with like zero access to get out of our property. which just becomes a hazard when we can't leave in any way, shape, or form, or we're risking. So if, we can talk to them about not parking or maybe moving gravel, just because at that point it becomes a liability to have access.
I'll have Casey talk to him tomorrow, and they should be able to clean that up.
Happens a lot in this project, Lauren.
Yeah.
I've had that problem in my house for 2 months.
Well, we are just getting into it in this week, so it's.
Off and on for 2 months, that's been the story now.
Anything else for bros?
Want me to say anything on the rest of these, or?
Well, you know what? I think most of it can wait till Donovan's back. And we're all struggling to hear him. I mean, and I'm sure he ain't having an easier time hearing us. So,
Is there any pay requests or anything in there that's gonna hold anything up? That,
No, I think the only action item was that big one, big
Okay.
pay request. Shared use pass should wrap up pretty quick, but there is a delay on the actual fixture on top of the lights, so it won't be done until they get that.
I know we're not supposed to go out of order. But these guys have been waiting all night long, so. You're good? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, good. I wish more people would come.
Sorry, Mayor, may I make a comment?
You
So
may.
obviously, just these additional items that require no council action, are you okay with it? We at least mention them in the minutes as part of his report. Because they don't require any council action.
Yes.
Just they're kind of an update. Just want to
Yep.
make sure that was okay with everybody. Yes.
Do we need Donovan for anything else this meeting? He's been waiting patiently all day to crack a beer, so.
Well, I would bet that he's got one in his hand.
I do not yet.
Don't lie, Donovan.
I'm not.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess you guys don't need anything else from me. That would be, appreciate your patience. This call probably couldn't hear you guys. You guys probably couldn't hear me.
well, we appreciate you trying.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Yep.
night.
Thank you, Donovan.
Thanks, Donovan.
Bye.
Okay, that next item then, I suppose that's on that with the same thing. So, okay, let's move on to Johnson Controls. Service.
One
agreement.
above it.
One above it? That's what I said. I imagine that's under the same thing as Bros though. Because Donovan would be handling that. Right?
Sorry, I'm trying to get to that one.
I think it's just to formalize what we said we were gonna do last.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so the cost share reimbursement agreement, this would be an amendment, which I know Donovan mentioned at our special meeting on August 23rd. So this is just an amendment to it, obviously based on the total cost share, which increased from what previously had been approved. So we just more or less need a motion to approve this.
So it's with the State Water Commission.
Yeah, sorry, through the State Water
Okay.
Commission for the
I
cost
see- I
share
see what it, yeah.
on the country estates.
And they actually changed their amount. Yeah, they changed their amount, so they're paying a bigger portion.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Chad, a second by Lauren. Once again, it's a money thing. Can you do a roll call on it?
Lauren? Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Bye.
5-minute recess.
Oh, I can sure use a 5-minute recess.
Second.
I want 3 and 7. Oh, Lynn.
It hurts really bad. She has a ruptured eardrum. That's why she's turned. That's why I on the right side. So she's not actually ignoring everybody. I'll take it down here. Guess what? We have a whole bunch of. This is where we come back to that. These two will go past. Actually, go past. Did you? Was that you with blue eyes stuff? What are you doing? Just ruining people's evenings or what? He's slapping. Oops, sorry, I slapped. The nature of that. I know, that's what I'm saying. Oh, no.
If someone wants to take up smoking.
I know, right?
You guys took up smoking too or something?
No.
They got bored.
You're out. Jeez.
So you're on tonight, are you on tonight?
You get drug tests. She said,
I know. That's so much fun. I think Emily drives it.
Well, yeah, that's what I did. I opened it and I'm like, oh, okay.
At first I thought it was a check that somebody left to us.
That's great for you, but that's worldview. Right. That's unrealistic. So what is there? 6.
I know.
Was it 10 people this time? It'd be a pretty good payday, 300. Really?
Well, that's actually.
Hey guys, before we get started, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Yeah, you sound better than the rest.
Okay.
What's your secret?
No, I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's multiple callers that, maybe certain callers just have a better connection or whatever. I have no idea. But anyway, I just wanted to ask before we get back on the record if I need to start talking, if I needed to call a cell phone or not. But okay, that was great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, we hear you a lot better than we could hear everybody else, so. I just wonder if we're at a point where a guy could just have me called in on a cell phone.
Good.
No, because then you have to have 6 different microphones. And phones that they can call in on. I just don't know why. I can get rid of the core system with that when you put it in. I can't hear shit. Like the Zoom tape.
But like the Zoom ones, they'll take your head off. I don't know why this did.
Can't hang with the smokers, it's way too cold out there.
You got for punishment?
I was gonna tell you guys, when that developer was up there, you should ask for his pro forma. How does he plan on paying? Because if he's gonna put on 45 apartments or whatever is up there at $2,000 a month, he's not gonna get his money back. So
He's not gonna get his money out of that project.
you gotta ask for his pro forma. Ask for his pro forma. See how he thinks he's gonna get paid back.
It can't be.
So then why do you do the project?
I want him to do it. Because regardless, if he doesn't do it, we're out $700,000.
I was coming out of my skin. I was coming out of my skin when he was talking. I was coming out of my skin when he was talking because I was on commission when we approved that project. That's been a long time.
2012,
12, 13? Yeah.
But now we're stuck.
Should have been done a long time ago.
We absolutely have to hope that he can pull it off because otherwise it's $750,000 of taxpayers we're gonna have to.
That's the only string that has me in like, and I called it, I knew for a fact.
Oh, we knew it.
There's no way in hell he's gonna.
2 months ago. This wasn't.
What's going on with Legends Hotel? That's been a project that's been out there for a long time. Over there behind
The basement?
Yeah, basement.
It could be in this swimming pool.
I think they pay their tax and
Fence it up.
keep the fence up.
So overgrown that basement can't be.
There's been a few people that have tried to buy it.
They won't sell it.
sell
I had investors lined up too, and he gave me the pro forma. He gave me, and then he had LLC after LLC. He had like 11 LLCs stacked on top of each other. You're like, no way. Because every one of them LLCs is gonna get paid what they plan to show me that for.
It's not for that grand show.
I'm Dennis, by the way. I was on council for 4 years.
The basement, off by on the north side of Foothill Village.
North side, we have to change it. I used to creep around in there one time, and the basement is a court, there's footings and then it's open grass.
It's the same exact MO as the one in Ray, that they finally just.
Is that the same
Walls
group?
out and backfill it.
Was that the same group?
I don't know if it's the same group, but it's the same, look like the same business plan.
It's frustrating.
The problem is when they pay their taxes, you really don't have a lot to keep.
Well, I just added it up, they're at 115,000 right now.
That's what he said. He did say that.
Yeah, I was at it, yeah.
But if they don't get the opportunity to try to, walk away and leave 115,000 on the table, and possibly.
I told these ladies here about that lot. I said, why don't you negotiate, take the first 25 feet, that slope. You guys, the restaurant takes the first 25 feet and gives the other 50 to the playground.
I think the church will probably need more for the playground though.
Yeah.
After, actually, the childcare requirements and what they require for the amount of outdoor space for kids, it's probably a lot.
Well, and they have that ATA grant coming up too, that was using that first
Five
part.
kids at a time.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's using that slope right there.
And then there's,
And that can have that.
I don't know
Right, that's what I was saying. It's like,
Yeah. Drugs.
somebody's gotta get an engineer in there and take a look at that.
Look at the footings of that.
What can be added, what material can be added, what can be taken away? That's gonna be.
Yeah, nothing can be added.
But like, if you
Because
just get
then
something
you
out
have
of it,
Yeah.
Two businesses walls.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool out there. No, I couldn't name it, guys.
Do I gotta win a damn camera this week?
How are you this evening?
Well, and yourself,
I don't know, but I feel like.
Tired.
you should write a nasty article about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting so used to it. I'm getting so used to the nasty articles. Just bring it up, bring it on. That lady wrote a 9-page memorandum complaint about me, and I'm just like, it's like, she's like flexing her intellect, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't know how stupid this is.
It's not allowed that the chief of police sits back there and sleeps.
Oh, he deserves a nap after the coverage he's been doing.
It's boring, but come on. I won't pick on you.
Sure.
I've done all public stuff.
Okay?
And you saw the other one from Maine Electric? Okay.
Back in session. Johnson Controls Service Agreement Proposal. Everybody read that? 400 pages?
Yeah, sorry, I guess I probably didn't need to include all of the pages, but I was in a hurry on Friday trying to get everything together. Okay, so this proposal came about, I was contacted by Johnson Controls, and I just thought they were gonna come out and just check our fire alarm panel. Well, that is technically not what they came here for, but between the lady from the corporate office, there wasn't a full understanding. But he had asked me if we had any sort of maintenance agreement with any of the other companies for any of our, like our boilers, you know, such items like that, the equipment in our mechanical room. And I told him that I stated we did not have any kind of agreement, so he put together a proposal. And I guess I just feel it would be better if we did have somebody that come out and maintenance them and.
Is all of our equipment Johnson Controls?
I would,
I have experience with them because, they're not great, and they're extremely expensive.
yes.
So I guess I would like to see something from another service company to comp to.
Any suggestions?
Right off the top of my head, but there's
If-
gotta be a couple of them out there.
If you guys could maybe provide,
Yeah, there are others.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess sorry, not that I look into, you know, or that I'm familiar with.
Let us do a little footwork on that, because we've got one at the public works building where it's $3,500 that we do have to get approved when it's change all the carbon monoxide.
Right.
So.
Okay. And this would be-
My motion would be to table the Johnson Control until I was able to move next one.
Okay,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Without any other discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Gaming permits.
okay, there should be.
Is there a chance that you do something like this? Because I can't keep that back.
Yep, so I believe there's 7 of them. First one would be to the Stanley Community Public School. That would be for bingo, raffle, calendar raffle, and sports pool. And you'll see that they did provide a list of their raffle dates, which I have to provide to the state with their new requirement. Next one would be to the American Lutheran Church for the Welka, which is for a raffle on September 25th. Next one would be to the Stanley Commercial Club for a raffle on September 16th. Next one would be to the Stanley Scholarship Funds for bingo raffle, calendar raffle, and sports pool, and they also provided a list of their raffle dates. Next one would be to the 1400s, and that would be for a raffle from, well, and the dates would be from obviously starting September 15th, and the raffle date would be held January 1st. Next one would be the Stanley Lions Club, be for a sports pool, and this would be from October 1st to June 30th of next year. And the last one would be to the Montreal County Health Foundation, and this would be for raffles, one being on November 1st and the other one being in June 3rd of 2023.
Move to approve all naming permits.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Chad, a second by Lauren. Any discussion? Without any discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The special event liquor license would be for the Leader Bar, as they would be the liquor license establishment doing the special event, which would be for the Grapes and Grains event. And you'll see that all of the, I believe there is 21 businesses total that will be participating in the event. Sorry, and that's on, September 16th.
Move to approve the liquor license special event.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by George. Any discussion? Without discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Stanley Airport.
You'll see that I did provide you with a copy of their minutes. The only thing that we'll need to do is, let's see, sorry, I don't remember who he said was. It was Dale, okay, yeah. So just need to appoint Dale Keelan for another 5-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Ty, a second by Chad to appoint Dale Keelan to the Airport Authority. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The police report.
Good evening. So for the police report, I just have some stuff that we'd done last month. So as a PD, last month we responded to 202 calls for service. Out of that, we had 6 total arrests. Last month we received our new Taser 7s. Officer Thomas is our Taser instructor. He did our certification. With the new Tasers, we did get a suit where we could do live action scenarios. So Officer Thomas did some scenarios, ran each officer through that. So we're all certified on those now. We also received our new rifles. And those were inspected and serviced by Officer Jenkins. They're also cited in and then issued out to the other officers by Officer Jenkins. The evidence room is almost organized. We were able to get rid of a lot of the old evidence, which helped with the organization of the evidence room. We now have a standard for evidence control as well. By the end of September, we'll be back to full staff. It'll be with 5 officers. We're currently down to 2, including our trainee as well. So technically 3, but 1 is with Officer Jenkins as a trainee. With that being said, Officer Betts is in his FTO process with Officer Jenkins, and he should be on his own by November. We're hoping that by that time he'll be good to go out on the road by himself. And then As far as the new patrol vehicle, I contacted Guardian. They said that that was delayed due to Ford canceling a lot of their patrol vehicles. They think that they have the vehicle at the dealership. They weren't able to give me a definite answer, but if it is there, then they're projecting it by the end of the year is when we'll be receiving that one. And also, we're looking at hosting some trainings next year. We looked at using the Pines building as a training facility so we could host other agencies as well. And out of those trainings, we'd look at hosting a drug interdiction training. We're going to talk with the school as well to host an active shooter training during the summer and some other various trainings as they come up. So that's about all I got.
Make it a motion to approve the police report.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Chad made the motion, Ty Taylor seconded it. Any discussion on it?
George made the motion.
Oh, George made the motion. Okay, sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, Public Works, don't be long-winded.
Okay. First line of business on Public Works was the main electric quote. You guys should all saw that. I believe it was 10,500 or something like that. That's to replace the stoplight that was tore down by a truck. The responsibility lies within the city for maintenance and repair of them. The state dictates what we do, so we have no choice but to fix it. I don't know that you need a motion. I'm guessing we do. So.
It's money.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Did you make that motion?
I didn't. One of them has to.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Lauren, George seconds. A roll call vote, please.
Lauren?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Zach, sorry.
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right. Okay, the next thing is Bechtold paving quote. I did not give this to Lynn. I don't know if she had it to pass out, but it's a whole bunch of repairs that are either city responsibility completely or cost share with the city, or in some cases strictly the entity that caused the damage to the road. The bid for those was $44,530. None of those are in phase one or phase two. So the recommendation from the Public Works is to go ahead and approve that payment and get Bechtold on the hook to make those necessary repairs. What's that? $44,530.
Motion to approve.
Okay, George made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ty. Again, I'd like you.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right. The next is street patches, a bid two. They did not give us a price on there, but none of these are within the boundaries of phase one or phase two either. So I've asked for them to get some dollar amounts for it, but if they're in town, they're patches that are 7 foot by 80 foot, 4 by 60 foot, 6 by 70 foot, 7 by 22 feet, 8 by 7 feet, 20 by 8 feet, 5 by 32 feet, and 4 by 34 feet, all of which are the city's responsibilities. So they're maybe a water line repair at some point that we never replace the asphalt. Some of them may be alligatoring or blowing out that is just going to get tore up with the blade. So I think if we can get the same kind of dollar amount of the recommendation would be to make these repairs also and get this stuff put back into shape.
Do you have a quote on?
I don't have a quote yet, but Brady, I talked to him, he's supposed to be getting me one. So,
Is this quote also coming from Becktober?
well, that's who I was gonna have him get it from. So it can be an agenda item on the 27th to just quick get that run
Okay.
through. The next thing I got is a quote from Scott Cudmore, and that's to replace 2 fire hydrants, one of them being at the old Quick Stop or Racers and the other one in front of the lumberyard. Currently, the one in the lumberyard is almost non-operational, and the one in front of the Quick Stop or Racers is sketchy at best. So the recommendation from the Public Works is to approve the repair of those, and I believe Scott Cudmore's price was $2,100 per hydrant to do the work of removing the old one and replacing the new one. The new parts have been ordered, and I believe Brady told me they're all on hand, so it's just a matter of us getting it approved, and that's the recommendation of the Public Works.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on them? The only discussion that I can think of on something like that is no question they should be done as quickly as possible because they're both in terrible places to not have hydrants working. So the quicker we can get these done, the better I'd feel about it. So all in favor signify by, I suppose we're going to have to have a roll call.
Lauren? Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right. The next line of business with Public Works is Johnson Control quote. I spoke to it a little bit earlier. It's $3,500, and it's to replace 5 of the carbon monoxide detectors that do not work currently in the new Public Works building. With it being carbon monoxide and with it being gas generated heat down there, it's just a necessity. So the recommendation from the committee is to approve that spend.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Lauren made the motion. George, second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next line of business is the Pinnacle quote, rent or own. And what that is a 250-gallon propane tank to service the standby generator at the new water tower. We can lease it for $225 a year, or we can purchase it for a one-time cost of $375. Recommendation from the Public Works Committee is to make the purchase and own it.
Motion to purchase. Second.
Any discussion or we got it? Any discussion on that? I think it's a no-brainer, so. There again, we're buying it, so.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right. Next line of business is the gravel products. We need to order sand salt mixture in October. We pick it up and I was wrong. I thought it came out of Minot, but it comes out of a pit right by New Vera. In 2020, we bought 221 tons at $27 a ton. 2021, we bought 150 ton at $28 a ton. They do not have a current price yet. They haven't set their price, so I'm guessing it's going to be north of 30 this year because they have to haul it all in, and it's one of them things that it's not an option to have or not have. It's something that we do have to have. So I guess the recommendation would be to get that 200 ton kind of right in that mark. That's kind of the average of what we've used over the course of the last few years. And I know that you want a dollar amount, but we don't have one and we don't have another source for it. So don't tell them, but the recommendation would be to approve the purchase of 200 ton of sand salt mixture from Gravel Products.
and they're pretty reputable.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Lauren made a motion, Ty seconded. There again.
Lauren? Roll call, sorry. Zach? Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right. Next line of business is R&R tree service. Every fall, we do have them come in and trim the low hanging trees on the, above the curb so that we're not knocking the windows out of the payloaders and the motor graders. We also do not have a price on that. They usually come through, tell us what needs to be trimmed, give us a price. So that's just for FYI. Next line of business is, and sorry, Public Works, I don't know that we talked about this at our meeting, but is the garbage truck at the landfill. I was out there Wednesday night to bring some stuff out personally, and I witnessed a citizen of Stanley haul out a half-ton pickup box that was level full with rotten meat, not in bags, just in the individual hamburger packs or steak packs, and Brady was helping him unload them. The recommendation from me to the rest of you of the council is that is not the expectation of our Public Works. That the expectation of them at the landfill is to pull the handle on the garbage truck and compact it and then stand there and wait for it to get full. Now, if they want to help somebody, if it's an elderly person or whatever, I have no problem with that. But I don't think that we can expect them to be handling that kind of garbage. I personally wouldn't. If I would have been him, I would have asked that individual to please go home and bag it up, or tell him you're on your own. That's absorbent expectation of an employee. So I am going to make the recommendation upon your guys' approval to tell the Public Works employees that the garbage truck, their expectation is to pull the handle. Is there a problem with that? Anybody have concern about it? Because the other thing that you got to think about is, what are the other things that people put in garbage? Needles, and I'm not just talking drug users. We all know that there's several forms of medical purposes that you could be throwing that. We don't need one of our people being stuck with that. So if it's all right by you guys, that's what I will tell him to pass on to the group. And then the last thing that I got, we did talk about this at the Public Works. It's kind of a twofold deal. So we have spring cleanup. This last year, 2022, the Public Works Department was abused, to say the least, with the trash that was hauled to the curb for what we consider spring cleanup of gussying up your yard, maybe cutting down a few dead branches. I don't think that the intentions of spring cleanup was what we saw this last year. I believe it took Public Works a minimum of 4 days, 4 to 5 days to go around to all the curbs and pick up all the trash and the freezers and you name it. So we do need to look at that in the future. It's not something we have to act on tonight, but one of the things that came from it is to look at doing one Saturday a month for 2 hours at the compactor, so that we don't have this buildup of home refuse or trash that can't fit into the garbage can, ultimately from the end of October all the way till the 1st of May. I think that will help with the spring cleanup. It'll alleviate some of that buildup, and it'll give the taxpayers the ability to be able to get rid of some of their trash throughout the winter time. I don't know, it was a consensus of the Public Works that was acceptable. I did talk to Brady and he said, well, it's acceptable, but they are, it is, now I got to do 2 hours once a month on a Saturday. But I think through the course of the winter time, that's one Saturday in that 5 months that they would have to take a turn. So the recommendation from the Public Works group is to figure out how we can make that work and get some input from the Public Works employees as to, what works best for them. Is it 10 to 12? Is it 8 to 10? Is it, I want them to have some say in it so that we're not just dictating their schedule on a Saturday. So I guess I would like the approval of the council to move forward with that and visit with the public works employees on making that happen.
Well, I personally think that all these recommendations have been good, and I guess I'm good with those recommendations, but I do think they should come in the form of a motion can cover all of them, but I think there should be a motion on them.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, George made the motion, Zach seconded it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Anything further?
And that is the Public Works report. One thing to note, we are working diligently on putting together the most up-to-date job description so that we can get that call out to hire a Public Works director. It's not something that's gonna happen in 1 week or 2 weeks. We want to take our time, make sure everything is right, and that we can find the best candidate possible. Our group right now is doing a good job at managing their schedule and getting the work done. So I don't want to be in a hurry in replacing Curtis. He did a very good job for us, and I don't want to go backwards from what he's helped build.
That it?
Yep.
Attorney updates.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sounds great. So, since the last council meeting, I know there were some comments about seeking the presence of our office at the council meetings. And I don't know, Mayor, if you want to kind of discuss a little bit of that right now. I did have a chance to talk with the mayor and the land and explain the difficulties in the scheduling, how it falls on these Tuesdays. And I passed on a couple of different attorneys who would possibly be interested in the position. I did reach out to one of them. I think I reached out to both of them. I talked to one of them, was able to talk to one of them, and just give them the professional courtesy that I recommended them. I don't know if you guys have reached out to them yet or not. But I understand the needs that the city has in relation to having council present at these meetings. It makes things more efficient. And that's absolutely fair to you guys. And I want you guys to get the best service as possible. So I think, there's been no formal action. It's just been an initial conversation between myself, Mayor, and Lynn. But I don't know if there's any input or comments as it relates to this matter. I don't really have a workable solution going forward, which is why other council was basically being discussed. I should also say that I'm not looking to leave the city in a high and dry situation. There is a new council retained. I would be, more than happy to assist in the transition. I'm not going to just wash my hands and say, see you later, by any means. And coordinate and work with any new attorney coming in to help make the transition as efficient as possible and be there as a base of knowledge for things that have occurred prior to their time.
Well, and when we visited on the phone, that was one of my concerns. I mean, for somebody else to just step into your shoes, basically, and what's transpired over the last few years and stuff. And you did mention to me that you've got where you could basically give them a stick and where they could refresh and also you'd be available for them to kind of consult with whenever they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's two attorneys. One lives out in Montana. She travels back. Her name's Liz Penley. She represents the city of Tioga. She was representing the city of Crosby at one point. I can't remember if she's still doing that or not. her schedule might be a little bit more difficult. She's been an attorney for some time, and she's going to have plenty of experience. She probably won't even need, I mean, she might consult me on some minor stuff, but other than that, there's another attorney, Emily Ramage-Geltel. She's from Williston. She's married to a local guy here. She's originally born and raised in Watford City. I don't expect her to go anywhere. She's more than capable of handling the position, and given her proximity to our office and living here in Williston, I mean, me coordinating with her would be, wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. I've worked with her on several other cases, and her and I get along just fine. So that was just the one topic I wanted to bring up. I mean, you guys obviously don't need to make any decisions tonight. You certainly could make a decision tonight, but I just wanted to bring it up. I know it's been, frankly, a topic since Kendra and Dusty Richard left our office, left us a little hamstringed and trying to cover all the cases that they had and trying to keep up. But you guys can give me any guidance you want, and if you need me to assist in coordinating any conversations, I certainly will.
Well, I guess I don't think this needs to happen overnight, for one thing. The other thing is, I think this should probably go to the employee committee to look into and discuss further. And bring some recommendations back here, but I guess I want to stress, I don't think this needs to happen, overnight. We do have this thing coming up, and you're well aware of the dealing with this situation with this greenstone. And I guess for my part, I certainly want you involved in that because you know what's going on there. And we're all a little bit, I think it's fair to say, we're all pretty nervous about how that's going to come down, because in our hearts, we probably want the building torn down. In our heads, it doesn't make sense, some of us. So, but we want some assurances that are ironclad,
No, I totally get it. And I think you guys are spot on with your assessment when you discussed this matter previously. That previous agreement is a great starting point, to move forward on. It's really a matter of performance, right? I mean, that's what it's coming down to. And even if, no matter what the contract says, they can't perform on it, what's it worth?
Exactly.
And so it's we can build whatever you want to build. We can sit down and have these conversations. I think it's not a stupid thing to do given the amount of money we're dealing with here. Whether there's going to be one last ditch effort to make it work or not, that will kind of be to be determined by whether they're going to be able to back it up. And that's what it's coming down to. So if we can start from where we kind of picked up from where we left off, I should say, pick up from where we left off, and be in a pretty decent position. But it's just really going to be a matter of performance more than anything.
Is there any way that you could be at that meeting on the 27th?
Now, let me pull my calendar up here.
It's a Tuesday.
It should be.
It is.
Well, I'm currently scheduled to be in trial there on Tuesday, so I will do maybe I can just stick around. I'll do my best to try to be in person on that meeting. Well, even in the interim, what I would like to do is, I don't know if you guys have a committee, an existing committee you would like to kind of assign this to. I think Elaine, Amanda, Mayor, maybe another council member, myself should be getting together prior to that to go over that agreement and kind of get that refined before you come into the meeting on the 27th, so that it's not another one of those things where you're trying to put together some type of an arrangement on the go.
Right. And I mean, I would like to know every detail about this before we go in that room. Because
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's, I mean, I think in addition to not only putting in a contract together, or an agreement together, we're going to have to put some type of written request for him to provide us with this information. I know he said that he's given Amanda some of this stuff, but whatever else we're missing, we should ask for it, make sure it's circulated to all the council members prior to that meeting.
Right.
So everyone's got ample time to review it and frankly get a feel on whether they can support the extension, basically, of them finishing the building.
Well, I understood what he said tonight. I mean, he was being pretty honest as far as saying, well, they're going to back away from it and they're not going to do anything and it's going to cost us a bunch of money. I understand that. And any business person would say exactly that they will back away from it. Or he will actually do the project. That's still not good enough for me. I want assurances that there's checkpoints along the way. And I don't expect them, once they start investing money again, I don't expect them to renege on anything. But I want something, where we can hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah. No, I agree. Is there a building committee or some type of committee that could start working on this between now and then?
We don't, but we
That's
will.
going to come quick.
We will put one together. Because to me, this is really, there's a lot of eyes watching this.
For sure. Yeah. No, other than that, I know I've been working on a few different things with the land. I prepared a draft resolution on some of the fees. Whatever you guys determine that to be, it can be adjusted and tweaked accordingly. And Elaine, was there one other topic that we kind of touched base on? Am I forgetting something, or did we kind of address that? Did the council address that at prior on other matters?
I guess as I told you, the gentleman that's been writing all the letters and the invoice for the $30 million, I did provide those letters to the council members that they were addressed to and the previous mayor, but, and I know I actually asked Jordan to send a letter to this individual. I have received several of these letters and it's pretty much the same every time. And I discussed it with Jordan. He's reviewed them. And I guess, I don't know if you want to just touch on it as well, kind of give what your input to me on them.
To me, they're incoherent claims. So, I mean, I should rephrase that. His claims are just incoherent. I can't tell what he's even trying to demand or ask, other than there's a monetary amount he's certainly alleging. But from a legal standpoint, it's basically incoherent sentences that don't make any sense. So from that perspective, from your guys' perspective, I wouldn't be necessarily concerned in any shape or form. Obviously, there's governmental immunities applying to elected officials and city employees. In lots of cases, there are sometimes instances when that doesn't apply, but nothing relating to what's in those content of those letters, from my legal opinion, should have anybody concerned. But we did prepare and send out a cease and desist letter. Whether that's going to prevent him from sending more letters, I don't know. I mean, we can always get a restraining order if we really need to, but at this point, I personally don't think it's rising to that category. Not that it wouldn't be granted, but for you to have to pay attorney's fees to do that, I think, you get them and just ignore them would be the easiest thing. Now, if they become, if the quantity of them increases significantly, then we can readdress it. But that's kind of my stance and thoughts and position on it. And other than that, I don't have any other things to add. And if this issue being looking at a new council does go to the employment committee, just let me know. I can talk with them as needed, if they need any explanations or have any general questions as it relates to this type of position. But all in all, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I want the council to know you're not going to be left out high and dry. I mean, I will be around as much as anyone else would need our assistance throughout this transition, and even after that. I mean, if there's questions that they have, I'm always open to a phone call or discussing matters. So just keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan. And we will be getting back to you on that. So when we'll get a committee formed and put together, and I'll get a hold of you.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, moving on. Council concerns. Lauren.
I just wanted to say thank you to our chief of police and Jenkins for the extra duty that they've been pulling. It's really appreciated. Okay.
I just want to say thanks to the Public Works Committee on getting those patches lined up and getting some of those repaired. They've been kind of lingering for a while, so it's good to get that.
There's one quick question. This was just something I was looking through. On the financial statement for August of 22, there's $500,000 that came out of the city Stanley fund. Do you recall, was that what we had pledged the pool?
Yes.
Should that have came out of that fund, or should that have came from the general?
Initially,
And I don't recall. I just saw it and I was like, I thought it was general in my head.
Initially, that when it was decided at that time, that is where it was decided to be taken from.
Okay. Yeah, I just could not recall. And if we should remit that back from the general back in the economic or the city Stanley fund infrastructure.
It came out of the infrastructure fund?
Yeah.
Our Stanley fund.
Or the Stanley.
I mean, we, most of the time we refer to as the infrastructure fund, but technically it's just the Stanley fund, which we use for contributions for other projects, infrastructure.
Yeah, that was just my only question. I mean, like, should that just, should that have just came out of the general instead?
It can be reallocated if we need. Because that's part of my council concerns when it gets to be my turn.
So yeah, I figured when I saw that, I'm like, well, it'd be nice to really set all that aside for infrastructure stuff. So, I mean, obviously it's as easy as a couple pen strokes. I just want to draw attention for some conversation's sake. That's all.
George.
I don't have much tonight. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Chad?
What I've got, I guess, is relating to what Ty touched on and what Lynn elaborated on is our infrastructure fund that we use for street repairs or curb repairs if they get broke during the snow removal. But also the money for some of the projects are within that fund. And I think in the future, like in the months to come, we really need to look at establishing an ear-tagged account for the projects to where that money goes in there and it cannot come out for anything but that project. Now that could be phase 2, that could be that money that that grant that we're talking about that has to be spent on that. That needs to be in an account that cannot be used for anything other than that. And the infrastructure fund, I like the idea. I think we need to keep that. But then that's also got to be ear tagged for, and I don't know what, I'm just spitballing these, but for the manhole or the storm drain repair up at the depot or the sunken manhole over in front of Corey Bristol, the actual infrastructure. How do we fix the day-to-day stuff? And that money, that's what that money's for. It doesn't, we can't rob or take from it. I guess I shouldn't use rob, but we can't take money out of it and donate it to a swimming pool. If we're going to put money towards a swimming pool, which I'm not contesting that, but that needs to come from another bucket that we have available so that we get 7 months into the year and we've already gave away, let's say $750,000 and that's what's in the bucket, then, you know, I'm sorry, you come and ask and nope, we don't, you're going to have to come back next year because we've used up this bucket of money already. We can't just go another account so that we can be the good guy. I think we owe that to the taxpayer to have that planned out so that we know what's in that fund to do phase 2. We know what's in the fund for these street repairs. And that dictates the work that we're able to do in that calendar year, is that budgeted line item. So just something to think about, mull around, kick around. And before we kick off 23, I know the budget's approved, but that doesn't mean that we can't figure out how to adjust that so that we're keeping proper monies for proper projects. And with that, I guess the other thing, as within any budget, every year I get the same talk from my supervisors now out of Houston. Yep, your budget's approved, but the challenge is see where you can save. Just because it's approved doesn't mean that we have to spend that much. We can go out and we can look, and just for instance that comes to mind right away is we probably pre-buy cutting edges for our motor grader. We'll find out, is there another vendor that supplies the same grade of cutting edge that we can buy for $75 cheaper per cutting edge? Then I think we need to look at that because that's tax dollars that we don't need to be spending. Olin, for just what comes to mind for me would be paper, toner, and I don't know how all that's set up. It's just spitballing again, but those are places I think that we can collectively save some money so that the goal shouldn't be to spend your budget. The goal should be to figure out where can we get the same bang for the dollar that we're spending, but spend less dollars to get that bang. And that's a little bit more work. I get it, but that's being prudent.
Almost everybody is doing that right now. I mean, I'm not talking about the city of Stanley. Almost every private company is doing that. They said, let's cut down 5% on everything because the year looks tougher ahead, you know, and everyone's doing it. I just heard the news this morning, even New York City's doing it. The mayor said they have to cut 3% and 5% next year.
The grand thing about it is you don't have to give up anything that you're getting, you just negotiate.
Right.
You talk to your vendors and say, hey, you know, we've got X number of dollars, we want to spend on training, can you do it for that?
Yep.
And chances are they're gonna say yes, because there is a markup in there that they have to be able to scoot around, so. I would encourage everybody that has anything to do with Spain to look for some efficiencies.
Okay. Anything else? Let's move on to judge's report.
Move to approve.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the judge's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Sure. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Bills. Bills for September.
Motion to approve the bills.
Kind of looks like Cindy was out at Market Foods or the store. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on any of the bills? Without, a roll call vote, please.
Lauren? Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of our agenda tonight, except for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, then could I ask one thing? Could I get a budget balance of 1 for the public works? Because there is a couple pieces of equipment that you need to get estimated for. One of them being their locating equipment. It's antiquated and needs to be replaced. And then another is 4-inch suction holes for the hydrant trailer that we bought. Suction line that came with it, that handled the stones that they wanted to do. So we could set that up to. And we don't know. Yeah, 4 or 5 inch. So if you could tell me how much money I can spend on that type of stuff.
We were just talking about turning some back. Sorry.
I can guarantee you that if I buy the 5-inch suction hose for a hydrant, we can cut down $350 an hour. So if you do that.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Who motioned and who seconded?
They did it themselves. Thank goodness. I was just sleeping and reading here. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Good.